From beyond the farthest reaches of our galaxy they come. Two brains pulsing with a strange energy. These space brains come to share their love of science fiction movies.
Hi, and welcome to Space Brains, the show where we joy-watch sci-fi movies and then talk about what was good and what was great. I'm Surrey, and this is Mark.
Hiya, it's episode 93, and we're talking about science fiction film Children of Men. Came out in 2006. In this episode, we'll reveal what we thought about the film, the ins and outs of narrative and film language, plus a nice deep dive into a specific piece of science that the filmmakers are proposing. Children of Men was directed by Alfonso Cuarón, sorry, Alfonso, please correct us, who also participated in one version of this screenplay. So if you actually go back, this story was written by a great British author, P.D. James, who wrote a whole bunch of murder mystery novels, hugely successful. A lot of them have been turned into TV or cinema, and no surprise, this one was optioned very early on in the piece, and it is the same. The title of this is The Children of Men by P.D. James. Universal picked it up, bought it out, had a script written by Hawk Otsby and Mark Fergus. It then got rewritten again by David Arata. And then when Alfonso came on the scene, he gave it over to Timothy J. Sexton, who wrote a script. And Alfonso wanted to not read the novel. He wanted to, because he'd read the earlier version of the script and he just wanted to work from that. But he did give Timothy the task of going to read the novel and kind of making it pure to that point.
I thought Clive Owen got a bit of action on the writing as well.
Yeah, he's not credited, but a lot of the way that Alfonso, and we'll come back to this when we break it all down, like the way they shot this is really quite interesting with the long takes, of scenes. That Clive, he had to have written some of that stuff because an actor has to play those moves and feel what is happening, etc. But he's not credited. And quite often actors don't get that credit, because they get credited in the other area of acting.
Yeah, there's a wheelbarrow of cash usually dropped off at their doorstep. So.
Yeah. And I think, as I said, in this, Alfonso sold him the idea of this would be the style of film, like the war-torn kind of style that they went for, and we'd have these very long takes, and I guess, and it also feels like the cinematographer, if you look into this, the cinematographer also had a big play in how some of those scenes really unfolded. With Clive. So even if you talk about another credit, already got enough authors. There's chuck Clive in and chuck the cinematographer in as well, really. So, and they have made something that's quite a interesting science fiction world that they've built here within the world of cinema. So I want to talk a lot more about that later.
And we will, but you better turn back now. This is your spoiler warning. We are going to spoil the bejesus out of this film.
Warning.
So warning. Turn back, watch, tune back in here.
We're going to reveal that this film is more than just children and men.
Yes, it seems a bit odd to say children of men.
Children of men.
Although I have a feeling this is men in the old English sense of were, meaning, worm being wormen and women and with men.
Yeah.
It almost sounded like I had something going there.
I know, I felt like you were really going to give us an English lesson. I really did.
Nope. Not so lucky.
Children of Men is set in 2027, not far from here. And again, I like that. They played off that rule, don't go too far into the future. And it's a chaotic world in which women have somehow become infertile. A former activist, which is Clive Owen. Clive Clive Owen.
Yes, Theo is name. Character name is, yes.
I just blanked a little bit on his acting name. He's a former activist, and he agrees to transport a miraculously pregnant woman to a sanctuary at sea. So it's a real... I mean, straight away, this film is so primal, isn't it? It's like, pregnant woman, save the pregnant woman.
Yes.
You can't get much more primal than that.
No
In a
babies.
world where there's no babies. So it's the ultimate kind of... caveman test, as we like to talk about. And that right
there is why this is a science fiction film. Is like someone would have said, basically, what if there were no more babies?
That's right. It's the great
what would happen to society? How would we use science to overcome this? And what changes would this wrought?
Yeah, well, like, would science actually overcome it, or would society break down and go into disrepair? And that's what the writers are kind of premising here, aren't they? Is that society does become chaotic and dystopian. So what was your number one takeaway from Children of Men?
Number one takeaway from Children of Men is that if you really have a bit of a think about and pay attention, long shots are incredibly impressive.
Yeah.
Like, I was typing away my notes as I'm watching. I've got my computer open. I've got two screens. I'm watching on one, notes on the other one. And I got down to that last sequence in the building. And from when he starts escorting her out all the way around through everyone until, the rocket launcher goes off and they start fighting again.
Yep.
One long shot.
Yeah.
And you don't realize how impressive that is until you realize that everyone would have to have been in character the whole time. And just because the camera wasn't showing them, they would have had to continue as if it was, just in case. You can imagine they go, I'm out of shot, and they sort of relax and sort of step aside, and it's actually they weren't quite out of shot. Or someone sees them leaning up against the window having a cigarette, or something breaks it, and then you can imagine the old director would be like, this was really hard to set up. We're going to do it again, but you're not going to be in it. Go home. So it's very impressive, and the effect it has on me watching it, that slow march through without cutting away, and it's only because I paid attention to the fact that I read up that Alfonso loves his long shots, and I thought, well, what does that mean? I'll pay attention, which is part of the whole joy watching of films, I think. And there was a few good ones in there. We'll probably hit on them as we go through, but this last scene here, coming through the building where he's walking out, and everyone is just in awe of the fact that there's a baby. And all the fighting just stops, and they just go, what the hell are we doing? This is... Because it's kind of ridiculous that they're fighting. Like, really, like, the world population has dropped and is just going to continue to drop because there's no new babies. And yet they're fighting over resources still. Yeah. Like, come on. Like, that's nonsense. But it's what people do.
Yeah, yeah.
And so, this long shot, it just impressed me that they were able to get so many people in the right spot at the right time. This camera could just move through, capturing everything. Yeah. I can't imagine how many times they would have had to have run that camera through, like exactly make sure was it a cameraman carrying it on a steady cam? Like walking backwards through what is really fairly chaotic. They would have had to have a little path for him to walk on. Possibly a minder walking behind, like hand on shoulder, sort of directing them. That coordination organisation is very impressive.
Yeah, yeah. And that's, Clive Owen did say it was, a lot of those scenes was a dance that him and the cinematographer had to play, and so, I mean, I don't know the technicalities because I didn't really research into it, but traditionally those cinema cameras get locked on to your cinematographer like a chess piece and...
a baby carrier.
Like a baby carrier, basically, yeah. I mean, now with DSLRs, there's a lot of gimbals and things that are very popular, but if you're talking about a large cinema camera, we used to in WA, I actually don't know if the guy still is here, but he was... years and years ago, like we're talking back, what year was this? 2006, about 2000, there was a world-renowned Steadicam, that's what they called them, Steadicam operator. He only shot a lot of rabbit-proof fence because that was quite revolutionary with all the Steadicam stuff. And so he was a West Australian cinematographer and became, really well-known as a Steadicam operator. And so to be able to do all that, because it's... it's one thing to be really good on camera on a tripod, but then to also be very good on a camera where you're moving all the time, But on that as well, just to say that, we appreciate those long shots. I know if you look into some of the behind the scenes of this film, the studio was quite stressed about Alfonso because couple of these sequences, one of them, I don't know if it was that end scene or if it was the scene at the farm, which I thought was really impressive. I think it was something like took them 15 days rehearsal. And so, of course, the studio are like, you're not shooting anything for 15 days?
15 days, you got all these actors.
Yeah, you got all these actors.
You got the crew. And the crew and the site
so
rating.
they weren't too impressed. And then to reshoot the scene would take another like 5 hours to set up, which is a whole day. You know, like if you're doing everything properly, it's like, what's a whole nother shoot day?
And if you lose the light,
yeah,
you're screwed.
So I know Alfonso felt a lot of pressure from the studios and obviously had to have a lot of blowback and a lot of faith from his producers. So it'd be interesting. It'd be great if we could chat to Alfonso about some of these things.
I was going to mention that we have seen Steadicam technology in the movies, in the movie Aliens.
Yep.
Those guns, the smart guns that the Vasquez and who's the other guy? I can't remember his name. They've got those big ass guns. That's a Steadicam gimbal they're hooked up to, and motorbike parts.
Yep.
They pulled apart a Honda VT250, I think it was, and basically built this gun and stuck it on a Steadicam and said, there you go.
Yeah, so there's plenty to talk about in some of the nitty-gritty, and we'll come back to that as we get into it. But long shots can be, if you want to see the longest long shot, the movie is called The Player, and it's the opening sequence of The Player, starring Tim Robbins, and it's about Hollywood. And there's, I think by memory, it's something like about 12 and a half minutes.
Really? I thought there was a documentary about a Russian history documentary where they moved through like one of these Russian palaces turned into a museum, and they staged different parts of Russian history through, like, they have like a ballroom where people are dancing, and then as you move through, it moved into other stages of history and different moments being enacted. I don't know how long that goes for, but I remember that was an impressively long.
Yeah,
maybe it's not maybe it's a documentary piece and not considered a motion picture.
Yeah. Anyway, so that's a good, if you're out there and these are just a couple of the things. And I mean, even 1917, that war movie that came out, because The Player is back in the 80s, and I know that held that title for a very long time, but maybe now, because even 1917, that British war movie where the whole movie moves, forwards, following the two soldiers, there is some really long sequences in that as well. So I could be wrong. Could correct me if you're out there.
Yeah, jump on, correct us. Why not?
That's all we like.
I mean, we're not often correct anyway.
That's right. Yep.
You could almost say anything and you'd be more correct. Be fine. So tell me though, then let's move on. Was this a hope, a warning, or an experiment?
I think this is a warning. We said the what if. I reckon this is a cautionary tale.
Not a hope?
No.
Oh.
No. I don't see this as hope. It's hopeful that humanity... See, we've had this a few times in sci-fi, haven't we, Surrey, when we've looked at films, and it's hopeful because Theo saves the day, and he definitely is despair at the start of the film. Like, he's kind of given up, hasn't he?
Yeah.
And then at the end of the film, although he's dead... he's saved. He's had the hope, like, of the child and to push it forward.
The bookend is at the start of the film, he's physically alive but dead inside,
That's
and
right.
at the end, he's spiritually alive but physically dead.
Hopeful of humanity, I think, and I mean, even that stuff you were just saying that all the soldiers and that stopped fighting because they saw the baby. Says hope, right? Like, that's hope. So I agree with that. The theme of hope's in this, but I don't think it's a hope.
I don't think it's a hope. It almost is. You want to think it is, but it's the Key, the refugee. She doesn't get to the boat through act of hope. It was through faith and chance. Like, there was, and that theme motif was brought up a few times. The whole faith and chance, and it was. Faith and chance, which led them there, because they could have no way of communicating, and they just had to get there, and they had to be lucky enough that they could get the boat and all that. And so to say hope, almost, but not quite.
I saw it more as that warning, because I think, again, to me, when I look at these definitions as well, it's like the setup of the film is the world has become infertile, so we're we're told pretty quickly, and we're showing that story of the youngest baby dying, the youngest man, 18-year-old.
Baby Diego.
Yeah, baby Diego. And but the world has chosen not to go, okay, well, how do we fix this? How do we recreate babies? The world has actually decided
it's not the
we're going to blow the shit out of each other.
It's not the wandering Earth.
No.
Where the whole world comes together in order to solve this issue.
That's right. So I think, to me, that's where that definition is. So to me, it's more of a warning that if something like this happened to us in humanity, we'd have to be very careful not to spiral. I suppose that's it, isn't it? It's like, do we spiral downwards or do we spiral upwards?
It's almost like take away our hope, because the children are kind of the hope for the future.
Yeah.
Take away our hope for the future, and what does humanity have left? Well, we could have just a big, shit fight.
Shit show, yeah.
Yeah.
What was this the first time you've seen Children of the Men?
No, this was the second time. The first time was close to when it was released.
Mm-hmm.
So, it was 2006. So that's a good 16 years.
Yeah.
I think I watched this when I was in Melbourne. So it's that long ago.
At the cinema or just on DVD?
No, it wasn't
TV?
on the cinema. It was a DVD or a rental, digital rental. I'm not sure at that time. Maybe as a pirate.
Yeah.
Probably a pirate. This is back before you could actually get legal
Good
copies
stuff on Netflix.
in Australia. For those of you who didn't live through the dark ages of Australian media, and it's still a bit that way, a film would come out in American cinema, and then maybe 3 to 6 months we would get it in cinema, and then maybe 3 to 6 months or longer, depending on how well it was doing in the cinema, would get it to rent.
Yeah, or buy or something.
If we got it at all.
Yeah.
And so as a result, there were a number of films that never made an Australian cinema debut and thus never made a DVD release debut.
Yep.
But then we'd hear about them.
And it was that wait time was so extensive, wasn't it?
It was ridiculous.
Sometimes it might have been 12 months later that the film was now available to rent as a new release.
They're just bleeding money. Why would you do that? Yeah, because and it wasn't a problem until BitTorrent and ADSL was fast enough that you could download a reasonably good quality video of a film in an hour or less.
Yeah.
And so suddenly they really were bleeding money because people would go, well, I'm not waiting for Game of Thrones to come out on DVD after the season's out and everyone's already talking about it. I'm just going to pirate the damn thing. And they still haven't solved that one.
No.
House of the Dragon, really good. I didn't get a subscription for that.
No.
I just imagined it. I didn't break any laws. I merely imagined how good it would be.
You were gifted it from the internet gods.
It was beamed directly into my head through luck, faith, and chance.
Well done.
Yes.
Share some of that luck at times.
Yeah. But so that was not my first time. I remember I watched it the first time and I liked it. I thought, this is a really interesting concept. It's a bit sort of bleak, and this was before I had kids of my own, so it kind of didn't ring as much, as it could have. It didn't touch me quite as much. The second time watching it, though, having had kids since, the thought of because when I watched this, I don't think I really even wanted kids. I didn't not want kids, but I certainly didn't want kids. If you say, I was just sort of ambivalent to children. Yeah. But then at some point in my life, I went, you know what? Yeah, kids would be pretty cool. And then shortly after that, it was like, wow, kids are really hard work. I'm not sure how cool this is. But now it's kind of like they're a bit older and I've gotten used to it and now it's cool again. Watching it in that context, yes, this idea of there being no more children, like possibly ever. Yeah. It was heartbreaking because if you were one of the parents of the 18-year-olds, you would know you're never going to have grandkids. You know that your kids are never going to have that opportunity to share a life so fully because when you're having little kids, you're sharing your life and your experience and you're learning from them and hopefully you're learning from them because they like to teach a lot. And then also you're passing on some of your wisdom and you're experiencing life again. Like the number of times my wife and I, we were put on a film. We watched Predator not long ago with the kids. Yeah. And I was able to re-enjoy watching Predator because my kids had never seen it. They knew nothing about it. And they were going, wild for it. And I was so I re-enjoyed it. Yeah. And it's the same with, like Christmases and things come along.
Yeah, I had the experience on the train the other night, taking the kids to the drone, and Mabel in particular, the 5-year-old, was very, she clung to my arm, going, oh, big buildings and nighttime and city. And you just saw it all through her eyes. And the experience wasn't so much my experience of a drone, because it was a drone show in Perth. It was just more of a little child being out at nighttime in a city for the first time.
And so, fireworks, likewise.
Yeah, it's the same idea, isn't it? So that was the joy that I actually got from the night, was seeing that joy on her face. It
would break my heart if my kids didn't get the opportunity to have children, and I didn't get to have grandchildren and sort of, rejuvenate myself again. Through vicariously.
Once they're grandkids, you can just pick them up and drop them off as well, can't you? It's the best world.
It's like this. My wife does dog sitting now, so we get part-time dogs. Yeah. It's fantastic.
It's fantastic because you can just hand it back at the end of the day.
But the second viewing here, it had a bit more to it, and plus, being a space brain now, I paid a bit more attention to such things as lighting, and the music in this is quite something.
Yes.
But there's also a bit of science fiction. There's stuff in there, cleverly woven into the background there. Was there any science fiction-y elements in here that sort of spoke to you or you thought were kind of clever and neat?
I liked the dystopian world here. It felt a bit like District 9, didn't it? That same idea, and even Elysium, which I know is the same Blomkamp sort of filmmaking. This was before District 9, but that worn, torn zone. I myself, watching this for the second time, I probably picked up... I remember the first time watching it, I enjoyed it, but I was probably a little bit flat at the end. And this time I realised why. And it was actually the fact that we have all those long shots. This time I really appreciated that storytelling device much more. I think the first time, probably again, the age I was at, etc., I kind of was wanting more out of it. Like I wanted to know more of the details. But this time I appreciated that we had those long shots and we kind of... It made you feel like you were in this crazy world. I think that was the effect here of these long shots. So sci-fi wise, I loved that, the dystopianness of this world, and it was a broken down dystopian world, which I really liked. I liked that also the tech here was... it's probably almost this tech could be around in 2027, right? Yeah. Like the car, when he hopped in Michael Caine's car, Jasper... it was just kind of like a GPS system, which is pretty current to what we've probably got going on now.
It was an electric car?
Yeah, there was an electric car, which, we're seeing a big growth in electric cars at the moment. Even the desktop computers, they were pretty funky on one side, but they weren't like see-through monitors or anything. They were just kind of nice quality monitors. And so I thought that... so this was made in 2006, you jump in forward 20 years, it was very realistic kind of technology. We weren't having that kind of total crazy future. The guns weren't anything new. The guns were the same. So
that often gets me in sci-fi films where it's they have these amazing things, and you're thinking, that's what I liked about Aliens, was that you can't beat just firing a lump of steel or lead
You still got
at high velocity into someone. It's so simple, it's easy to make and cheap, and it works. Why would you use a laser blast? I mean, maybe if you had some sort of fusion power that gave you effectively unlimited shots, maybe you'd put up with some of the drawbacks to be able to never have to reload, but still.
Agreed. And so that was the thing. And so I just liked that, and you had, there was one bit with newspaper stands, and they were just obviously digital screens, which again, we have now.
Yeah, and they had the moving ads on the bus, like animated bus ad,
it's not anything that is far removed from where we might be in the next 5 to 6 or 10 years, realistically. When the Queen died, what amazed me was those digital billboards that we have in the city here. They wrote up, the Queen is dead and long live the Queen. I was like, wow, that's really fast that they've got advertised in that. But I thought, well, that's what you can do with digital now, right? Like you can just change a message on the day for the advertisement, So I liked that. I liked it. And to me, what's more important there as well is in the storytelling, the idea here was the world was breaking down. So the technology shouldn't fast forward too much, right? We shouldn't have this white Apple store everywhere because society was fighting each other. We don't have the resources and the intelligence. good old Elon Musk, as I saw a little video from him saying that people presume technology just gets better and better, but that doesn't happen unless people invest in it, you know? And it's stayed with me seeing him say that, because it's like, yeah, that's a presumption that we make in sci-fi films sometimes, is that, one day it's all going to be like an Apple store. Like the whole city will be like an Apple store. And it's like, but that will only happen is if we really push towards it being like an Apple store. Like, we're still going to have graffiti and rubbish and trash and, you know, broken down old cars and stuff, because it takes the whole of society to go, I want the Apple store. And we're not going to do that. We're not going to do that as humans, are we, you know? And we saw that with Demolition Man. You know, the idea was, okay, wipe the city clean because of the earthquake. We have a chance to rebuild. But you couldn't get rid of that part of humanity that still wanted to be humans and swear and have sex and break things and graffiti. Like, you can't really get rid of that. And that's so I liked that this film, in the terms of the sci-fi, stayed true to that. It's a dystopian world. Tech can't go too much further, and the tech was just that next step.
Yeah. You got the impression that it was a little bit fancier.
Yeah, but nothing special.
But not, you're not teleporting or using hologram communications or anything strange like that. No.
So, and what about yourself? Are you up to anything sci-fi or creative?
Well, for the past sort of week and a bit, I've been head down, tail up, preparing for a technical interview. So, no.
You're going to be running the corporations here in the future?
Much as if I can. And it'll all be Apple stores.
Yeah.
Wall to wall, the whole thing, flying cars.
Don't worry, you can come with me to the underground population. We'll do podcasting over there.
Podcasting.
About the great megalith that is Surrey's corporation.
Yeah, there'll just be a massive Surrey statue in the middle of Perth.
Yeah.
And I'll have the penthouse suite looking out through my own eyes.
Yeah, that's right.
Something like that, I'm sure. But other than that, you know, I did manage to make a bit more progress on my book and my app.
Yep.
And been looking at how to approach getting sponsors and things for our film festival.
Yep.
So, little bits and pieces, but none of those I haven't passed any milestones that I'd like to brag about for those.
Fair enough.
Been busy trying to get a new job.
Yep.
Although, if you listened and you know where I work currently, and I don't get a new job, because when this comes out, you will have heard whether I've left or not. This could be awkward.
Fair enough.
Yes. In which case, I'm just joking.
Yes, all jokes.
Yes. I don't know anything about jobs.
No.
Anyway, and yourself, how have you been going?
So I think I've talked last time a bit about the beatboarding of a low-budget feature. So that has continued. So I'm still blocking that out, still just getting in those beginning stages, but wanting, we are nearing the end of 2022, and so wanting to really start 2023 and run with that, you know what I mean? So I'm trying right now to really block out as much as I can in the time that I have. So there's that. I got to meet a film producer for coffee last week, which was really really exciting. I mean, she's produced some short films and been part of some bigger productions. She was part of the West Australian, not sci-fi, but a feature film made here called How to Please a Woman that came out earlier this year. And so, it was just really great to meet her and have that sort of chat about where she's at and where I'm at. And she's working on a pitch for a different thing for Disney Plus at the moment, but looking at, options. So, she's also looking at developing her career, because again, as my personal filmmaking stuff, that probably is the next logical step for me to build a partnership with a producer, because you really do, for those that don't know, the producer in that traditional terms is really the one that goes seeking funds, sponsorship, selling the film with the director at times, but essentially that is their role, to raise the funds and run and monitor the funds. So Alfonso, I don't know who the producer of Childrenofmen was. We don't write that down. We probably should. Maybe we'll do that in the new year. But his actual producer, that is their job. Like, Universal wanted to make this film. here's $70 million, I think was the budget of this film. The producer runs that $70 million, make sure people get paid, things are running, the schedule's running. So producer does a massive amount of stuff in that way. So, yeah, that was a really great chat, and, hopefully something might come of that in the future, of that partnership. So it's always good to do that. In terms of, Spacebrains, we are building towards next year's festival. I likewise have looked into some funding options, gotten some responses, and also want to look at some private sponsorships. So if you are out there and you do want to sponsor Spacebrains, feel free to get in touch. We do have opportunities, and we are in that kind of sussing out businesses and government and stuff. So now's the time to get in on the ground floor, so you can get up to Surrey's eyeballs and be at that apartment.
Yeah, you want to be at
overlooking with Surrey.
It's the eye
drinking the
ball
expensive
level
wine.
You want to be at.
Yeah, and
not the other ball
floating
level.
Pig. Like in Children of Men. I didn't quite get that reference.
That's a Pink Floyd.
Oh, right. Okay, so there's a big pig floating out. I suppose maybe pig is also, gluttony, isn't it? And
it's derogatory of a police state, and and that's sort of
fat, over bloated.
It was really just there's the famous Pink Floyd cover of the pig flying over the Battersea Park.
Yeah, right.
Smokestacks.
Yes,
and that scene out that window, that pig, that wasn't the Battersea's power station, but there were there
was
pillars there, and there's a lot of industrial in this film.
Yeah, there is, isn't
which I found a little bit odd that it sort of went back to this industrial sort of manufacturing sort of stuff. I suppose they had to, because they couldn't rely on the rest of the world at that point.
Yeah, and I think it's that great. We're deviating already, but I think it's that great British monarchy business institution, isn't it? Like the industrial age coming out of Britain.
Yes.
And they were the founders of that, really, and that first industrial age. And I think this film is referencing that in a way, because there's that, isn't there that great moment when he hops on the bus or whatever, and it's like, it flashes through all the cities and goes faster, 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 and it's like they're all like broken in a particular way. Not Britain.
Britain soldiers on.
So it's that Winston Churchill, we keep going.
Not that they're doing anything to make the rest of the world okay, but,
who cares about the rest of the world?
We've got ours.
Yeah. But yeah, before so there's some great connotations there, and I think any society, again, you go to 1984 again, and Brave New World, the Huxley's book, those kind of Clockwork Orange, Soil and Green. I mean, that's definitely American, but that real traditional class society, you have to think Britain, don't you?
Oh yes.
And I mean, this is a British novel, a British story, but it makes so much sense. That class structure is real. And I've had people talk about this currently, British people. I don't know if you ever had that kind of conversation. If you are British out there, my wife's family, her mum's from Britain, and her family that are still there, like they talk that the class structure, we don't quite have that same thing in Australia, do we?
No.
We do have wealthy, and we do have the middle class, and we do have the working class, but I don't think we've never truly had that class system like they do in the UK.
It doesn't distinguish, because the thing is, we don't distinguish, generally speaking, based on the sort of work you do or whatever.
No.
It really is other areas that the way you behave and act in. It's not uncommon to see tradies at barbecues and football games with millionaires. And it's not whether they're a bricklayer or the owner of a multiple apartment buildings or something like that's not really what you would stop them from associating. What would stop them associating would be maybe football teams or
that's right, the type of beer you drink.
Or sort of maybe the suburb that you grew up in that had
I don't think
or something.
I don't know. It's probably more down to how you treat someone a bit in those social. And so how people act in those social situations, I think, in Australia, whereas I guess that British class structure is built into them a bit more. It's probably evened out a lot more in the modern day, but it still is. It's a thing. So if you're from Britain, get in touch. Let us know.
Oh, well, they still have a House of Lords.
They do.
Who are lords.
Come on.
Yeah, I mean,
How do you become one?
And the House of Commons, which is commoners. Yeah, so
yeah.
I mean, it's kind of right there in their parliament.
There you go.
Okay.
So before we go into that, Spacebrains Sci-Fi Festival, make sure you crack in, make a film. All the details you can find on Film Freeway. Check us out on our socials to learn more. We've already had the early bird deadline. We've got the next deadline coming up at the end of 2022, right at the end. And then there's sort of a late deadline in 2023.
Let's take late entries.
You've still got a bit of time, but now is the time to make your film.
Make your film.
Yeah, and if you're unsure, I had a guy reach out the other day asking some details on Facebook, so through the page. So, yeah, don't be afraid just to reach out and ask questions.
Jump onto YouTube and check out some of the highlights of last year's.
Yeah,
you see the trophy awards, you see the lovely little presentations, and fantastic.
Yep, so be part of the festival. So let's get into Children of Men. Festival will scope out some of the key details and the plot.
Key details. So, as we said, it is directed by Alfonso Cuarón. Cuarón.
You're going the Cuarón this time.
Yeah, oh my goodness me! Like I think he's from Mexico.
Yeah, I think so.
And so there's probably like a really cool way of saying both of those names that like really rolls and sounds sparkling. But I don't know how to do it, so I'll just leave it up to the experts. The screenplay was by a mouthful of people: Alfonso and Timothy and David and Mark and Hawk. So that would be Cuarón, Sexton, Arata, Ferguson, Otsby. Yeah. So you're going to have to rearrange all those names in the correct order now. It's based on a book by P.D. James called The Children of Men, unsurprisingly. We've got Clive Owen, as Thelonious, Theo. We've got Claire Hope, Ashiti as Key. So, Claire Hope, get in touch and tell us about yourself and your name. Julianne Moore playing Julian, which I thought was uninspiring in the naming, but I guess that's the name of the character in the book. Yeah. So what are you going to do? Yeah. Michael Caine, wasn't he great as Jasper? And Chiwetel Ejiofor. Oh my god! Okay, so
he's a great actor.
Is he? Is that Icelandic?
I don't know where his background's from actually, but
that last name looks Ejiofor as Luke.
He's in. Is he in the recent Star Wars or something? But he's like 12 Years of a Slave and Academy-nominated actor. He's a brilliant actor.
It wouldn't be Icelandic name then.
I think he's British. All these people are British, aren't they?
Yeah.
So,
okay. Well.
Yeah, I don't know.
So
not sure what the deal is.
Maybe he'll get in touch with us and let him, tell us about his name because it's pretty cool.
Yeah.
It was filmed in the UK. It had a budget of about $76 million or so. It says here. Mm-hmm. The box office didn't do that great.
No.
70 million.
Yeah.
See, this is the problem. Is that I don't think there was enough kapow-pows and splash. What else was coming out in 2006? Maybe something else just took the limelight.
Yeah.
I don't know. That's something we should probably do, actually. Think about what else came out at the same time.
Compare what came out at the same time.
Yes, so that's it. And when we talk about these films, we like to look at things like we like to break it down into various narrative structures, quite common elements that you'll find amongst the various teachers of storytelling and filmic discourse.
The good old Alfonso Sexton.
Yes, this is the
method.
Canberra, Snyder, McKee, Field, and Spacebrains terminology. Yeah. So we're talking about a 3-act structure. It's broken down into specific moments, beats, plot points that each one is designed to drive the story forward with reason. Uh-huh. And that's sort of what plot is compared to story. The plot, the reason that, or the mechanics that make it continue.
And it's very obvious the plot that drives this story. As we said in the premise, I feel like this is one of those great examples of a caveman story because the what if society is infertile? So what's the answer to that? Well, one woman has a baby.
Yeah.
Straight away. So you got the what if, you've got the premise. Okay, well, if society can't have children, how does society react to that? Oh, it's dystopian.
Oh, it's terrible.
It's war-torn, it's trashy, everyone hates each other. Okay, so then you got a pregnant woman. Okay, you got to get her to safety.
So to safety, and we're going to see the good and the bad in humanity in
All the
this situation.
That's right.
Both sides of it. And it's an interesting duality, and we'll get onto that.
Yeah, and there's heaps of it. Starts right in the opening shot of this film and all the way to the end. So Act 1, we basically have the beginning of any story, like, hello, here we are, here's the story, who the character is. So we have this opening image. We might have a bit of a theme incorporated in the very early parts of the film. We learn the setup, the world that we're in, the time, the place, the key character or characters. Being a feature, you're most likely going to have more than one character, probably 2 or 3 at least, and the world that they're in, And then we have this moment, because that can't go on too long. You can't have an introduction go on forever. It's too boring.
Slice of life. No one wants slice of life.
No. So pretty quickly, you've set that world up as a writer or a filmmaker. You've got to then punch the character in the face, basically, with something that really upsets their world. So, they've got to be given something. And this film does it at 12 minutes and 22 seconds, because I was on something around that time, which is great. And it's very obvious what the inciting incident is. And really that moment has to shape the character's journey. And now the character debates what they're going to do about it. So if they lost their job at the inciting incident, what do they do about it? Do they become a full-blown alcoholic? Do they decide to skateboard around the whole world because when they were a child, they always loved skateboarding. They'd given up on it to follow the corporate ladder. That's the debate. So they've got to make a decision. And once they make that decision, it's really about hopefully making a decision that then drives the story on. And both those examples there, well, okay, I'm going to be an alcoholic. Now we're going down into Act 2, they're an alcoholic. Or I'm going to skateboard around all the biggest cities in the world. Okay, we're going on that journey as an audience. So that takes us into Act 2. What's that about?
That first one, I don't want to go on that one. But let's go to skateboarding right here. Yeah. So Act 2 then, the first half of Act 2 is the promise of that premise. It's like we've been told he's going to become a world-famous skateboarder. So we'll see him enter skateboard combat, whatever it is, they battles, skateboarding battles. Is that what they call them, with their skateboarding sticks and
sticks,
and
boards,
their roller hats? I don't know. I don't understand a thing about skateboarding, but we'll see a bunch of skateboarding and probably skills, and they'll meet a B story in there. Like they'll probably meet a friend or a little guiding mentor, someone who will.
Someone that's always skateboarded.
Someone who's always skateboarded, but maybe doesn't have luck with wants a puppy. Yeah. They really want a puppy dog, but their landlord doesn't let them have one. Oh. So they've got that's a little side story we're going to have going on there. But they've skateboarded their whole life, but they've never won the world championship because they were always told someone else would come along and win it. It could be a prophecy.
But they injured themselves, right?
Yeah, we get to the midpoint. Anyway, a lot of things could happen here. We get to the midpoint. So the midpoint, then we've had a bit of fun and games, which is what it's often called.
Lots of
skateboarding, getting better, doing the tournaments. Midpoint, something happens here where maybe they thought they were going to win because they were so fantastic, but then just like their B story friend, no. They don't. There's always someone in China who's better because there's so many good people in China at skateboarding, as we all know. And they miss out on the tournament, and this will be a nosedive. It's an inflection point. It doesn't have to be a bad thing. Sometimes it's a good thing when they get to the midpoint. Let's go with bad, because that's the usual thing here.
It's horrible in Children-of-Men.
Yes, and we get a bit of a downward spiral here as things get worse. It turns out that their initial dreams are not great. And we have bad guys closing in. We have Dark Night of the Soul, where they just really inspect, what the heck am I doing? Skateboarding? Who was I kidding? I can't skateboard.
I should just go back to my corporate job.
Jian Li is much better at skateboarding than me. Yeah. But then we get so that they lose hope. Perhaps the whiff of death here is their dream of winning tournament. But you know what? They suddenly realise, you know what Jian Li always said? If you practice, you actually get better. Wow, that's really true. I thought it was just because, I don't know, he wore green trousers.
And that friend needs to turn back up maybe and say, hey, I wasn't just hanging around you to teach you skateboarding. I was also hanging around you to be your friend.
Oh, and the friendship was the real
friendship
treasure
was
after
the
all.
real story.
And so he jumps out there and he skates for his friend.
For his friends, yeah.
Not for his own glory.
No.
And he does wear green trousers, though, because just in case. There's an upset, of course. There always has to be an
Now
upset.
this is Act 3, right?
Yeah,
We've moved into Act 3.
Oh, no, I'm just shooting through this.
Keep
I'm
going,
just,
keep going.
I'm
You're
really
on a
getting
roll.
into this.
You're on a roll.
This is a great story.
Yeah, you're on a roll. Keep
we
going.
should probably try to make these a little bit more science fiction, these little
Yeah.
pretend movies. But at the end of Act 2, you get that inspiring moment where everything is lost. They're not going to win the tournament. This guy in China is much better. His friend isn't there. But then we get the inspiration out of that loss, which is, you know what? I might just do this for my friend.
Yeah.
And he turns up, yes, do it for me. Oh, yes, I will do it for you. And then we go into Act 3. And I'll let you finish that little story.
Okay, and so then as friends, they're just going to compete for the fun of competing.
Yes.
So they're not going to do it. Then that's their plan.
It's
That's
their new lesson, their plan.
So they don't care about what was his name?
Jen Lee.
Jen Lee.
Yeah.
and they're just going to do it for fun. That's the plan. So we'll do it for friends. And so, the plan starts to act out that they're having fun. And guess what? The fun means they're winning. And then they're given the opportunity now. They've won. They're given the opportunity to go into the final, the gold medal contest, the sudden death with Jen Lee. But what Jen Lee does is, and this is what quite often happens, they go, yeah, the plan's working. We're just skateboarding as friends. His team sabotage them, and they take the friend out the back and break his leg, right?
Which is skateboard code for deck.
Yeah.
Break his deck.
Break his deck. Yeah, he can't skateboard.
No.
So now it's like, haha, Jen Lee's going to just win, right? So it'll be the end of the story. It's hugely disappointing for the audience. But our protagonist thinks back to the whole journey he's been on and musters up all these life lessons of this story of being a friend and whatever, and, I don't know, cobbling things together that they make a 6-wheeled skateboard that they both can ride on.
Oh, it takes the broken skateboard.
Yeah, and glues it onto his... And there's nothing in the rules that say they can't do that. And Jen Lee's all bloody complaining, and the judge goes, I'll let it happen. They're not going to win anyway, right? Because you've got the state-of-the-art Nike skateboard. And I'm throwing in some sci-fi here. So they've got a 6-wheel skateboard, 2 guys on it versus Jen Lee on his Nike skateboard. And then, of course, it's that final throw everything at it. And, lo and behold, the 6-wheeled skateboard actually does win. But they won because they did it together.
And on the closing image, he lands and he's congratulating, and Jen Lee actually does give him a begrudging handshake. And his old boss, who thought he'd never get anywhere, is told to hand over the sponsorship check.
Yeah.
That his company is now going to sponsor this guy. And his boss is like, oh, I'm so humiliated that I've got to hand over the check to the guy that I fired for being no good. And it's a bigger check than I get.
Yes, that's right.
And then we have like the fist punch in the air.
Yeah, jump in the air.
Guitar rock based music playing.
This is a great idea.
I think we should. Fantastic. Who will sell it to Disney?
Sell it.
It sounds like a Disney film.
It does, doesn't it? We've gone down the Disney element tonight. We do have to start putting some more sci-fi element into this. So there you have it. A 3-act structure, roughly out in those key beats. You're going to have a pretty satisfied. I mean, I'd be satisfied. I'd be punching the fist in the air to that, that Disney movie.
Jump, freeze frame.
Yeah, get some good bopping song at the end going, and we're all good. So, so that's our 3-act structure. You'll find for most novels and films, roughly beat it out in those things. If you want to write a story yourself, go do a bit of research on that, and you can find those kind of beats. Look at films like Children of Men and see if you can beat them out, and that is a really good way to learn the structure of a story. Doesn't mean you can write a really good story, because I'm still learning how to write a good story. But
I know that.
At least you learn that recipe, and then you can experiment with that recipe. And I think the other thing is, the more I look into it, what that recipe does is it just gives you the it gives you a bit of confidence that you can do it because other people do it. Like these guys did it for Children of the Men. So, because quite often as a writer, you can be staring at a blank page and not sure what comes next. You actually do know what comes next if you sort of roughly follow these beats.
Yes.
I've been talking about my low budget feature, and this is what I'm doing is I'm beating out those moments, and sort of the puzzle is coming together.
Yeah.
You know, and I mean, again, I'm not saying it's as good as Children of the Men, but that's what I'm trying to do, is figure out that those beats so that I'll have a satisfied audience at the end.
Yes, if you beat it out often enough, you'll be satisfied.
There will be a satisfied audience.
A happy ending for everyone.
That's true. So the thing with this film, and I mentioned this before, sorry, is great bookends. The bookend, the start of this film is about 20 seconds of nothing.
Yeah.
And that is the opening image.
It does that silence.
It's silence.
That bugged me. I checked my speakers and my headphones, and I fast forwarded, and there is sound. I quickly went back and
so, and which is perfect for what happens at the end of this film, because they do the same thing, but we'll come to that later. So stay tuned. I'm sure if you've watched the film, you'll get it.
Yeah, so I mentioned in my notes here silence.
Yeah, silence. It bugged the crap out of me. I was watching this on Apple TV, which I haven't even ever watched anything on my laptop, just because I could get access to it through Apple TV. So I did it, and I kept going, oh, it's not working. Oh, it's not playing. And it's like it kept bugging me. And I jumped, and then I'm like, no, there's stuff there. What's going on? And because I was also trying to watch it at the start on a train, and so I wasn't sure if my Wi-Fi was not working. You know what I mean? And it's just like, it was really... And then I realised at the end, I was like, that's why. So the starting bit of this is black screen and black silence, and it's deliberate. Would annoy the hell out of those film projectionists back in 2000. Has it started yet? Oh, shit. Just let it roll. So the setup, it's the year 2027, and it's been 18 years since total human infertility.
And our 5th Spacebrains film festival.
That's right. That's true. And there's this broken down society, and pretty quick we're introduced to Theo, who is depressed. He's down. He's downtrodden.
He's in that cafe where they just got the news broadcast saying all terrible things are happening.
Yeah, all these terrible things going. And he just wants a coffee.
Yeah.
And it's shitty coffee as well, looks like.
Yeah.
It's not the coffee beans, I don't think. I think he's literally buying
He couldn't be bothered
coffee.
waiting for milk.
Yeah, he can't be bothered waiting. So, and he looks down, depressed, and what we do learn on the TV, which everyone else in the coffee shop is obsessed with watching this TV bulletin about the youngest person ever has died, baby Diego.
Little baby Diego.
I'm going to say, when you first start to take that in, it's a bit hard to figure out, like, what the hell is this about?
Yeah, you're thinking baby Diego was stabbed outside of a pub, and you're going, oh, that sounds pretty brutal.
Yeah.
And then you find out, baby Diego is 18 years and however many months and days and hours.
Yeah, and it's quite clever because obviously, we do get these new news reports like, oh, the oldest person has died and they're 108 or 110 or whatever. And you go, wow, they lived a great life. And it's like, oh, the youngest person has died. So it's a cool setup. So it's telling us that through that little baby Diego idea that, this is the world that he lives in, that no more babies were born. And he walks down the street to learn a little bit more about him. He pours hard liquor into his crappy cup of coffee. And I think he might light up a cigarette as well at the same time.
Yeah.
The street is a very prominent London street, but it's extremely busy, and there's tuk-tuks.
Yeah, I know. So they're just they're rattling about the place.
They're rattling around. It's very polluted. There's rubbish everywhere. It's kind of a bit smoggy and a bit gross. And it's very loud, like there's lots of noise going on. And sort of with that, as I think he has a swig and lights a cigarette, just a bomb goes off in that coffee shop that he was just in. And I think, does a woman come out holding her arm?
Yeah,
or
a woman
something?
comes out holding her arm, and he wanders off. And this we get silence again.
Yeah.
And a little bit of ringing, which is presumably his ears, as he wanders into his office. And as he's wandering in his office, everyone's in the office looking at Baby Diego News. And slowly this music sort of joins in, like orchestral sort of strings start coming up. And he wanders through, and you can see he just can't even today.
Yeah.
And yeah, he wanders into his boss and goes, "Oh, boss, this news about Baby Diego just kind of hit me a bit harder than I thought. I think I might need to work from home." And it's funny because now it's like, well, I get people saying, "Oh, so we're all going to meet up, and go out after work. Do you want to come into the office?" I said, "Oh, yeah, okay, I'll come into the office today." Yeah. But yeah, and you can tell he's not really sincere.
No.
He doesn't give a rat's about Baby Diego.
No.
But
and it feels like the boss probably knows that as well.
Yeah, his boss is like, "Yeah, okay, well, whatever."
Yeah.
I forget. Do we know what he actually did?
No, but it was the Department of Energy that he wandered into. Like you saw him walk in and the security check. But yeah, didn't really know he's just a pencil pusher or
or an exciting executive. I don't think he was dressed like an exciting executive.
No. This is where his life does lighten up a little bit. He visits this friend Jasper.
Well, we do see a lot of illegal immigrants in cages at this point. And we do.
Oh, that's right, yeah.
And we get the woman loudly speaking in German, which I immediately thought that this is clearly, harking back to World War II.
Yeah.
And again, we talked about, say, class structure in London, in England and the UK, and certainly, particularly in England, as opposed to the larger, probably Scotland too. But the World War II is still, it's a real memory, because people's, maybe, parents, if they're older people or their grandparents were still having these memories of,
the Blitz.
Refugees from Poland and France and Germany coming through. And then also the internment camps that they discovered in Germany.
Yeah.
And so having this German voice in a cage, it's kind of like it's reversing this role a little bit and really pointing out this similarity. I think that this kind of, you think Nazi Germany was kind of bad for locking people in cages for almost no reason. Yeah, well, it turns out that most of us do that nationally. I mean, Australia's got a terrible record of locking up refugees on an island and treating them like crap. I still don't know why we keep doing it.
No.
Everyone keeps saying, we don't want to do it, but then
we
keep getting politicians going harder on refugees, and you get all of the people get riled up and vote for them. Or I don't know. I don't understand it, but it's a reality that we live with.
Yep.
And this movie, I think, really sort of, with those scenes where they're stuck in cages and you hear it happens again later on with a German woman asking for food on the bus. And I can't help but think that he's definitely pointing out, hey, the Nazis did bad things, but, we're all kind of doing similar things with the refugees we're receiving at the moment.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that was definitely there. It's a brutal kind of world that we are in this setup. There's graffiti, there's rubbish, there's this refugees. The police are really heavy, they're heavy-handed. You can see that it's kind of like SWAT police all the time.
Yeah.
We have heavy-handed police happen now, but I think what you're saying there as well, the refugees that, they've got the big German shepherds, they've got the guard helmets on, the batons out,
the shields.
They're sort of swearing, I know Theo walks past the police, move it on, the police are not just... And it's not to say that then police aren't like that now, but this is the street police.
They're really quite grumpy.
Yeah, they're grumpy police at all times, and no wonder, because the world seems to be on a bit of a knife's edge. Really, that was the impression here.
I got to imagine that everyone is trying to deal with the fact that humanity is doomed.
Yeah.
Because one thing that you've got to think is that if the last person turned 18, they no longer have any laws for underage drinking.
No.
There's no point checking ID checks.
No.
Because everyone is over 18.
That's right.
There are no schools. And there's no funding for schools. So why bother having a primary school? There's not going to be anyone in it.
No.
Children wards at the hospitals. Pediatricians. There's no such thing as a pediatrician anymore, so it's pointless.
Yes.
So there's seeing all of that and having all of these things closed down. You imagine here... where we live, we've got a couple of these primary schools. Imagine if they were just closed down, but just closed down and abandoned.
Yeah, they would
not
be.
closed down and repurposed for community groups or something because we've had further social breakdown and it's just you'd be walking past these places. It would be a grim reminder that you're the end. You know, every birthday you celebrate now is one step closer to humanity's demise.
That's right.
And once those 18-year-olds pass, I don't know, 30, 40, it's, you know, the chances of having children after that, it's drops remarkably.
Yep. But he does visit this friend, Michael Caine, played by Michael Caine Jasper, who's quite a interesting character. He's like an ex-political correspondent or something, or photographer, but now he's selling weed.
Yeah, and he's quite alternative.
Very alternative to the thing. He's out in this cabin in the woods as well, and his wife has potentially had a stroke or something. We don't know.
Yeah, she just stares in the distance.
Yeah, she's sort of in a wheelchair, and but he's very jovial and upbeat, and kind of he's the opposite of Theo in a way, isn't he? Yeah. Even though the world is the way it is. So it's a good reprieve from that world, probably for Theo and also for the story. After that, and then see, to me, this is the catalyst, basically. But again, just before that, Theo wakes up in his apartment, and that ad that wakes him up is it Quietus?
Quietus,
yeah. Which is basically
a suicide
kit, yeah. Which again, you just said it, like, we don't have to have laws for under 18-year-olds and stuff, but likewise, they're giving people a ticket out. So I think if society allows complete ticket out like that, you're probably heading for doomsday, aren't you?
In the book, there's a bit more of that. You know, when you're old, you're basically encouraged to commit suicide because you're useless, basically, which is dumb because, I think that's kind of a bit funny thinking, but. An interesting point that Jasper makes here is that they're distributing suicide kits, and yet weed is still illegal.
Yeah.
Well, I know, and you're sort of thinking that you can imagine that happening.
Yeah.
Can you? Yeah, sure. Here's your state-sanctioned suicide kit. Are you smoking marijuana? My goodness me, sir, you're going to jail.
Yeah, that's right.
He's like, why can't I just commit suicide by smoking marijuana?
That's
right. Because it doesn't kill you. You can only do things that kill you.
That's right.
Smoke normal nicotine or drink alcohol or use Quietus.
Yeah.
Okay. Anyway, I found that a funny irony.
It was. So Theo wanders to work in his depressed state the next day. And
at about 12 minutes
into the story. And 3 armed men put a hood over him, chuck him in a van and fang it.
It's pretty cool because we actually walked past the newsstand, and on the newsstand were papers saying the Fishers terrorist attacks.
Yeah.
Latest thingo.
Yeah.
And then, sure enough, shortly after walking past that, he's nabbed and chucked in a van. And we learn he's taken by the Fishers. Yeah, because
there's also a sign. There's a lot of signs that repeat. I just want to say as well in the back. These are just signs in the background, but it's reports suspicious behaviour. Which is that very 1984 Orwellian thing, isn't it? It's like it's a society, heavily militarized society, and you got that kind of constant message like you're responsible to report, suspicious people, So, he's chucked in the van. He says, inciting incident. There you go. Guy's going to work. He's kidnapped. There's a great
kidnapped. What are you going to do?
What's he going to do now?
Become a skateboard champion.
That's it. That's his way out.
That's not the choice he makes.
Very quickly, but these guys reveal that it's his ex-wife, and she's a bit of a leader in this room that he's tied up in. It's a great room that they've got him in, full of the newspapers all over the wall.
Yeah, plastered newspaper.
Yeah, which all, if you look really closely, they're all sort of acts of violence as well. So it's that old Clockwork Orange, stretch the eyeball and play all the vision as much, desensitize the violence, into your face, and she says that they've got she asks him if he could get transit papers for a woman.
Yes. For a Fuji.
Yeah.
And they're not going to killing me softly with your song. They did a cover of that, I think. The Fugees?
Yes.
No? Okay. Anyway, there we go. I am old. So they say, get the ministerial papers, get the travel papers, because he has some sort of a contact.
Yeah.
And immediately you know that this is inciting incident because here you go, up to now, there's been no story.
No.
There's just been a sequence of no plot. There's been a story.
Yep.
You know, man goes to work, escape, doesn't get bombed. You know, he meets his old friend.
Yeah.
It's a sequence of events, but none of that has any drive. None of that.
No.
We don't know. We can't even suspect what the next thing he's going to do. Is probably go back to work, I guess.
Yeah, another day.
But as soon as we have this, he's kidnapped. Okay, that's the beginning. We go, oh, something has changed. We want you to get ministerial papers to escort this, you know, so this girl can travel.
So now he has a debate.
And so now we know that at least some of Act 2 is going to be about either him trying to get the papers or transporting the girl. And we now have direction and drive.
Yeah.
The story, the next sequence of events will be driven by this. And the very next scene, in fact, is driven by that.
Yeah, and that's what his response is that, well, I can't get those papers. You know how dangerous that is? And we know this world is dangerous. We've seen the police. We've seen the refugee thing. So the stakes are raised here that he can live in his boring little depressed world.
Yes.
Which status is death. He's probably just going to drink himself to death.
Or get blown up in a bomb.
Or blown up in a bomb. And in fact, he lights a cigarette and his ex-wife says, oh, you're smoking, those things will kill you. And he goes, yeah, not fast enough.
Yeah.
So he's heading towards death.
And that guy later on in the film also tells him, oh, they'll kill you.
They'll kill you, yeah. So again, at this point in time, Theo is trying to kill himself, really.
Yeah.
And so if he needs something, so the debate here is, will he do these papers? And he decides he's offered cash as well, which I think is quite good because I think for that, it again makes him a little bit more selfish. Like it's not a save the cat. It's actually a little bit more complex. He's like, okay, I'll do it for the money.
I think his moment with Jasper was save the cat.
Yeah.
Because the fact that he could unwind and he did have a lighter side.
Yeah.
There was that human project joke that they told to introduce the human project.
Yeah.
But that's kind of where you go, okay, he is actually, and under other circumstances, he's actually quite a fun-loving, nice sort of guy.
Yeah. Yeah. But I liked that he was like, yeah, I'll do it for the money sort of thing, And
the very next scene, of course, he's in a posh car. Like we just see this posh car driving along, making his way through. There's music again, very prominent here. I can't remember what the song is.
Yeah.
And then we see it's Theo in this posh car.
Yeah.
Going through.
And he crosses the boundary from that world he's been in, which again is this real British class structure. And he goes, and I think it's that they drive down that Queen's Park Road
parade
or whatever. So they obviously got access to that.
And through the park, there's the fancy people playing their fancy games. They've all got dogs.
Yeah, and they don't have violence around them.
No.
And there's a symphony as well playing. And so he's in another world, really. And he goes through a couple of other checkpoints, a little bit like In Time, right? The same idea.
It was.
It had
much
to go
the same,
through those sort of checkpoints.
And it is one of those themes that you get this sort of fairy tale sort of theme, or often films will do it where they go from one place to another. You've got to pass through a gauntlet. You got to travel through a tunnel. Sometimes it's a literal tunnel.
Literal tunnel, yeah.
In Time, it was tunnel.
Yeah.
He entered a tunnel and there's a barricade. It dropped. He had to pay his duty and then pass through. And I remember that movie Doomsday we did where they were in the post-apocalyptic Mad Max world of Glasgow. They passed through the military tunnels, through the tunnel, through the mountain, and come out the other side. Now they're in King Arthur's land.
Yeah.
And it was like a stark difference in operation. And the tunnel was this transference point. And in this one here, it's this fancy car and these gates, take him through to a totally different world.
Yeah. And it is as well with his cousin. He has this meal. It's all catered for. It's displayed beautifully. It's wine.
His cousin's son is doing some computer thing and ignores him. Would take your pills. Take them! Which gives you an idea. This guy's a minister or the minister.
Yeah.
And he seems he's talking nicely and then he shouts at his son very authoritarian and give him that idea, okay, he can be quite stern.
And I mean, you mentioned it before here when he asked him for the papers and he's like, it's a bit tricky. He tells him a story about a girlfriend and she's maybe the one and blah, blah, blah. But he says, this is sort of a bit of a theme, I think, going on here, because he says to him, how do you do this when you know the world is the way it is out there? And he's like, well, I just don't think about that.
Yes.
Yeah, and I think it's that great Aristotelian sort of wealth mentality, isn't it? It's like, well, I'm up here in my ivory tower. Doesn't really matter what's going on with the poor people. Like, I don't have to think about it.
Yeah. I have more important things to think about.
Yeah.
Not really, but he does. He says he does.
So, yeah. So, anyway, he gets the papers and he meets up with Julian. Again, it's a great little character piece here, isn't it? Because he gets the money at the pub and he goes to the races to make a bit more money.
Yeah, well, he's still a bit self-destructive at this point. So he's like, here's... Because he wagered... He got another couple grand or something up front. You got... the guy used the pint glasses to pay him. Yeah. You represent what's going to be paid, and then he's straight to the greyhounds. And I remember looking at that going, "Oh, dude, you do not make good choices, do you?"
That's right.
But he won.
He won on one of them. Yeah.
Well, see, there's a theme in here as is stated later on. It's about faith and chance.
Yeah.
And so
he takes the chance.
Julian has the faith in him, and he's taking chance, and it's come up, bing.
Yeah.
And that's kind of almost like, yes, you will.
You're on the right path.
Act 2.
Yes.
You're not going to just sort of squander the money and hide away in a hole somewhere.
Anyway, and so there's a cryptic little chase here, and he's got to meet so-and-so on Julian on the bus and follow the woman with the dog kind of thing, and he does. And, I mean, the whole point there is that he's got the papers, but realistically they actually have a ex-wife, ex-husband argument, don't they?
Yeah, the whole dead child
they
business.
Lost their child, and he kind of mourned, and she suggests he mourned too much, and he suggests she didn't mourn enough, and so they kind of end on a bit of a tiff. But then they go and pick up Key, and so he meets this young... I don't know. Is she Nigerian or something like that? Maybe she's a refugee,
African of some variety.
Yeah, and there's another woman as well, Miriam, who's the midwife.
Yeah,
although I don't think he's not introduced.
She mentions that later on.
Yeah, she does. So
she's a bit of a space cadet at this point.
She's a bit of a space cadet, and Luke is one of the kidnappers from earlier. He's driving, and so I think he does say something. Doesn't he say something like, "Are we going to have a sing song?" No, all right, I'm having a nap then.
Yeah.
So they're all a bit testy. And anyway, so they're going to drive to the first checkpoint or something, aren't they? And get through that together.
Yeah.
And then from there, Theo will have to take her to the other checkpoints and get her to the coast. So the fact that he's done that, we've basically signed up for Act 2, haven't we?
Yeah. We're going to Act 2. When he has his nap, I think we're going to Act 2 because we get the next thing is they get ambushed.
Yes.
So they drive along through countryside, like big, tall trees, which there can't be a lot of those in the UK. There's a lot of development being done, bound to be some. But they're driving through there, and it doesn't look typically British. Like, when you have shots of people going through British countryside, you're more used to seeing hedgerows and, much like we see later on in the film, actually, is what you're more expecting to see. And if you're from the larger island of Britain, there
they do have some old forests.
You might not have that same impression, but as an outsider, the films I've seen and other imagery, when you get someone going through these places, it's you see these little farms and patchwork and hedgerows and little windy alleyways. But this, you could almost sort of think it was Canada they're driving through. And they drive through, and there's like this rolling car, catches on fire, smashes, and people just come pouring out and start chucking stuff. But they're just grumpy. I think they've not had breakfast that morning. I suspect. And
no, it's a planned attack.
They're kind of unhappy, and so they reverse out and try and get away. This guy's on a motorbike,
and this is where Alfonso's long take really ups the ante, because you've got this point of view camera. We're in the back seat of the car, looking out through the driver's seat as this burning car hits them in front of them. They reverse back. This horde of people are kind of surrounding the car. He reversed faster than people can run. So, okay, you're braking free. But again, the camera doesn't brake here.
No.
And it's fanging down this, country road. And then there's a, motorcycle with another guy comes up to the side door where Theo is. Theo he's got a gun. That's right. And he shoots and gets Julian. Yeah. And so she starts bucketing out blood out of her, which is very unexpected because you thought she was going to be a character for the film.
They were just having a little moment there which showed that they still actually had a playful side to it. Yeah.
So she's shot. There's blood going everywhere. There's this motorcycle comes up to Theo, points the gun at him, but he kind of quickly opens the door. So it's this frantic, Pat scene. Now you could have done. Alfonso could have done that by cutting 100 times, which is action 101, right? Like cut 100 times, build up the action. But by having it just this continuous shot, it's kind of like what you and I were talking about off air. Is you kind of as an audience taking your breath, like you're,
it felt like you were a passenger in the car with them.
Yeah, so you're there, you're in the action, and this motorcycle. Then Theo's whacked it with the car door. He's fanged off. So they're kind of gotten away, and he's got his hands around Julian's bleeding, and Miriam kind of tries to help, and they're all yelling and screaming, and they realise that she's dead.
Yeah, she's dead.
And so as an audience, it's quite shocking because you're like, I thought she was going to be a major character throughout the whole story, So I thought they were going to get back together, like that's what you're thinking,
could easily
right?
imagine that would be...
That's the traditional sort of
You
setup.
think that would be the B story there, isn't it? Like them, okay, so they're helping this woman, travel across the thing for unknown reasons. We don't really know why.
No.
But they get a chance to patch things up, and maybe they don't, get back together, but they come to terms with the death of their child or something funny.
And just as they kind of regroup that Julian is dead and they can't go the way they were going to go, what is it, like 6 cop cars come flying past them.
Yeah.
And they're like, cops, and they're flying in the opposite direction or, speeding in the opposite direction. And they're like, the cops after us. And then you see the one cop car's coming up behind them. And he's like, I can't outrun them. I'm going to pull over. And the police come up. And again, it's this real frantic, I think unlike maybe what British cops are probably like, they pull guns out straight away. And
I don't think the British cops carry guns by standard.
I don't know. I mean, again, like Aussie cops generally probably don't just pull out their guns. They're trained not to.
I've never seen one.
So, but they do in this scenario and obviously in this world. And that Luke guy, they're all yelling out, we're British, and they sort of, the police go, okay. And Luke hops out and just shoots them dead.
Yeah.
And again, it's like this quiet, the camera's just rolling with it. So I think there'd been a cut or two in that sequence, but it's implied that, by the way it's been shot, you're as Surrey said, you're there in the car. It's like you're stuck in the car with them.
Yeah.
And so he gets back in the car and he fangs it down the freeway or the highway or whatever. So it's quite a brutal scene, that scene.
And this is where we get a bit of a breather, don't we?
Yeah,
because
they get to the farmhouse.
It's interesting to watch some of these films where they have these ups and downs, where they have this frantic chase where Julian dies and they shoot the cops and you go, frick, everything's screwy. But then at the same time, it just goes through and they turn up in a farm and it's quiet. And there's like some nice little puppy dogs that like Theo, and they don't normally like anyone, but they like Theo for some reason. Yeah. And it's suddenly you sort of think, oh, okay, they've sort of made it. It's safe. It's nice.
Do you know what? Just that you've said that, when he was back at Jasper's house, there was a cat, wasn't there? And the cat was nice to him, wasn't it?
Yeah.
And then when you were saying that, the dogs are nice to him, and there's that cat that's trying to claw his leg, isn't there, in this scene when they're all discussing what they should do.
Yeah.
And there's a cat like trying to climb up his leg, like wants a cuddle with Theo.
Yeah.
And that happens throughout this whole story, isn't it? It's like animals want to be with him.
Yeah, so he's actually a very fatherly figure. He just doesn't want to
doesn't want to admit to it.
And what I noticed at this farm here, we went from the greys and blues and blacks of the city to these sort of warm earth tones in here. The farms with browns and greens and some muds and...
Yeah, and we get this impression. I mean, this scene is about these guys, they're kind of like frantically trying to decide as a group. And it feels like it's a very democratic group, right? Like at this point in time, and they discuss what the plan was, and now that Julian's dead, what they should do. Yeah. And they're a little bit aggressive, but it's a bit like a commune or something. And I think this is where you're saying as well, it's like they're quite innocent. The impression is they're quite an innocent group of just trying to do the best they can.
They want to do well for the refugees.
They want to do well for the refugees, and they want to do well for society. And I think the farm, it's like, fresh earth, and they're trying to look after the place, and they're living off the land, versus what we'd seen with the government and the the
city,
corporate and the city world, and what they were doing. It felt suddenly like, these people might be my kind of people.
Yeah, a little bit kinder, a bit. A bit more human.
Yeah.
And they ask Key, what do you want to do? Do you want to like risk pushing through to this boat that may not occur, that may not happen, or have your baby first and then we'll try to get you there later? Yeah. And that really makes a point. This is your decision.
Yeah.
We of course find out later on that it was never her decision.
No.
But she says, "Oh yeah, I'll have my baby here," and then move on.
Yeah.
Which I can understand because like, having a baby, even nowadays where it's not unusual, is kind of a confusing and frightening thing. You're like, not really sure what's meant to happen and so on. So the idea that, you might be out traveling, whereas you could be at a nice farm, as you said, is this,
with people around.
It feels safe and warm and nice, and there's people and
And so, and Theo's going to hang around and then take her, I think, is the plan. And so they're like, you can bunk here. And we learn Miriam's a midwife as well. And so she wants to help Key and be on that journey as much as she can. And then they, in the middle of the night, he wakes up to a bit of a commotion.
Well, he first of all discovers that Key is pregnant.
Yeah, well, we already just said that.
Yeah. I want to say that we're talking... This came out December 22 in the United States. So this was like a Christmas release.
Yeah.
And in particular, this theme here where we have... he goes down into the barn, away in a manger, and the cattle are lowing. Yeah. And she reveals that she's pregnant. This miracle baby... immaculate conception.
Yeah.
She even makes a joke later on that, no, she's a virgin. Yeah. and you see Theo almost seem to believe it. And she says, no, I just don't know who the father is yet. Because, again, you got to think, if no one's able to get pregnant, there would be no precautions taken.
No.
Like, why would you bother?
Nope.
It's not going to... Yeah, and if you did get pregnant, it would be some miracle thing. Yeah. So this is where this... Christmas theme comes in. It was released in America as a Christmas film, and we have this scene here where she reveals herself as pregnant in this manger.
Yep.
And then we've got the story of them rushing, urgently going to give birth, and it's they can't find a good place to give birth, and so but they're let in by a kindly Romany lady, Marika. So there is kind of this. A parallel theme here of the Christmas story.
Yeah. The Jesus story.
Yeah, the Jesus story, because this child is kind of the saviour of humanity.
Yeah.
And she is Mary, and she doesn't have Joseph hanging around the place. I mean, Joseph is there. It's Theo.
Yeah. And the kingdom is out to get them as well.
Yes.
Also
Pontius Pilate, I think, was the dude trying to kill all the babies.
Pontius Pilate's the one that sentences Jesus to death, so I don't know if it is the same one.
Okay. Who's the guy that...
King Herod or something?
King Herod?
Or something?
Oh, no. If you're a Christian...
I know.
Let us know.
We're muffing it up, but it's the nativity scene as well.
I went to a Christian school and...
learnt all this stuff.
Apparently learnt this stuff. I'm sorry.
Faded. The story is a really good story. It's really great writers,
pretty
authors.
Cool.
Like, they really thought it through the beats.
It's a world bestseller.
Yeah, it's a world bestseller. Sequels and everything to it.
But I love this scene where they're escaping, as you said, like because he overhears that they're just going to use this baby as a flag.
Yeah.
They're going to wave this baby around as a banner to rally a rebellion, which to me, I'm going, what's the point of having this rebellion if you don't, like, you've got to find out how come she's able to have a child. Is that something that more women actually do have, but they just haven't been the circumstances, or what? What's the deal here?
Yeah.
That's far more important than your freaking rebellion. Like the rebellion will happen when the hope is given back.
Yeah.
If the human project could turn up and just sort of say, here is this treatment, it works only 1 in 50, but 1 in 50 of the women that we treat should be able to conceive and have children. Like, all of this fighting would stop.
Yep.
Like, well, yeah, there'd still be conflict, but, you know, all of the real angsty horror drama of it, people would go, oh, well, we should do everything we can to make that work.
Yeah.
And suddenly everyone bound around the hope. So this rebellion thing is just a horrendous idea.
It is. But humanity seems to be bent on destroying itself in this film. So he overhears all that rebellion. He also sounds like they planned it, as in the attack on the car. And
that's because the motorcyclist dude.
Yeah, he
turns up
and sort of talks
later on
about
and
it. Anyway,
wants to kill Theo.
Theo, this scene to me is a really standout scene, and apparently looking into how they actually did it, they had to modify a car for the cinematographer to be able to move in the car and to shoot it as one long scene, right? And the actors could slide out and slide in so the cinematographer could get around. So, you know, we don't have time to talk about it, but it's a real, you know, thought through. Alfonso, coming off Harry Potter, actually said, let's do this as special effects. And the cinematographer said, no, we decided this film would have the raw grit documentary style. Yeah. We're not bringing in special effects. We're going to do this properly. And so they had to, the props department built a car, like they modified a car. So yeah, the cinematographer could get in and out, and so could, Theo, etc.
As it turns out, a lot of car choices in TV shows for the main characters is based around how easy it is to get a camera into the car.
That's right. So this scene's great because it's such a clever idea, isn't it? He goes and he stuffs up the first 2 cars, get in the third car, they all clamber in. It's just a little car, starts pushing it.
We'd heard that it needs to be jump started. You can't park that here. Don't park it here. It needs a jump start.
So anyway, he realises that, so he starts pushing it down the hill. The rest of them realise they're escaping, but he's stuffed up their car, so they're like running after him down this hill. And so it's a great example of, like, you know, that Alfred Hitchcock building the tension, right? Because he kind of gets away. They do get away. It's a real hectic scene again.
Yeah, they get to the bottom of that hill.
They get to the bottom, and of course it stops. It stalls. But you can see in the background of the long shot, they're coming down the hill. So that's what I mean by this Hitchcockian sort of idea. That
it would have been easy at this point to sort of do a cut to the people, close up to the people running and seeing their faces. They're just in the background. They're blurry even. You can't. They're not even in focus.
But it's, you know, the impending doom is coming, and it's, you know, their time clock is getting shorter and shorter, and so Theo's out. Push the car, start the car, get us jump started.
He actually had to push that car.
He had to actually push it, and that had all been done with the cinematographer, like being in the car, out of the car, running with them, and everything. So we talk about that dance that him and Theo, you know, Clive did. It came across super impressive, and it all comes down to just timing, really. And if it, as we said, if it doesn't work, you're reshooting that whole bad boy.
Could you imagine poor old Clive? He's like,
oh yeah,
I've got to push that car again. Yeah. Oh my god, that was so hard.
That's right. So he was invested in the look and feel of the film, Clive. So Alfonso had sold him. So it's very. I loved that scene. Like, I thought that was a really cool scene. That's a master filmmaker right there. You know, like really playing off.
And it's when you think about all of those complications of how you would, as a filmmaker, how you would put that together. Because even if you're using a small camera like a phone, which they weren't using, they would have been using like something a little bit chunkier, and you've got to climb in and out of cars, but you've got to keep the shot going without showing off any of the, you know, sound or
crew
cables or the safety guys nearby who are ready to rush in and, you know, help if the car
tell you
flipped.
Clive can't do that because of insurance purposes.
and then also making sure that everyone kept acting like, because they wouldn't have known if it was a cut, because surely it would have just been saying, I can't really signal to you if it's a cut. Just keep going.
You're just going to keep going.
Keep going until they would have to run down the hill shouting and all this.
Yeah.
I wonder if there was that first one where they come running down and Clive, he gets stuck and he can't push it. And they go, I can't reset. And they're like, okay.
Back down the top of the hill. Hey, it's what actors should be paid to do, and they should be happy to do that.
Yeah, I know.
So, and I think they probably were working on a film like this. So they, it's a great escape scene. Again, then there is like a beat because it's like he goes, I know where we need to go, which is Jasper's. So they get to Jasper. And this is really like they, as you said before, taking that beat, taking that breath. The baby is, the pregnant woman Key, she's like safer. They eat. Jasper does them up some food and they get to, Theo gets to have a shower and they kind of have that refreshing.
Talks with Miriam and we learn a bit more about her background. And,
that's right.
No, we hear them talking about Dylan, Theo's background.
That's right.
Miriam's background is later on when they're on the way to the camp.
Yes. And that again was a really interesting, this is what Alfonso refers back to. He saw these long takes in some old movies and he, that scene's another really good example, sorry, what we were talking about, that Clive comes out and I think he's looking for shoes and the only shoe he can find is thongs, and he comes out and he starts pouring himself alcohol in from a big bottle into his little bottle that we've seen him drink from the whole time. And he's sort of in the other room or a doorway, and then you can't see Jasper, and Jasper's telling them about his son and losing the son and how they lost the son. But the whole time, Clive is the one in focus.
Yeah.
So, actors don't like that. I can't imagine Michael Caine would have loved that in terms of he wants the close-up, but he doesn't cut to that close-up. He keeps it on Clive the whole time. And Clive is overhearing and liking the story, and then it's obviously reminded of the pain of it.
Actually, I really like that story because it starts off, they're smoking his weed, and he does the whole strawberry cough thing again. Like, cough. What does it taste like? Strawberries. Yes, that's what it's called, strawberry cough. And he's like, it does add to the world and the feel of the characters.
Yeah.
Because people, when they have like something they think is clever, they'll tell it to everyone.
Tell it to everyone, yeah.
And if you're along, you'll hear it as many times as it requires, and you go, they're about to tell them this bit of news or this story.
So anyway, they are, to me, this is then the midpoint.
Yeah, about halfway through the film.
Yeah, they're awoken to the alarms and that Luke
crazy music,
and these rebels are there, and they're broken in. So very quickly, Theo, Key, and Miranda pack up, and Jasper's like, no, I'm going to stay and I'll distract him and tell him, they went that way.
Yeah.
And Theo just parks up in the woods and he can oversee, these rebels rocking up, and they bring Jasper out and he tries to do his joke about pull my finger, but he's just basically executed.
Yeah, they're
really
too serious.
Rapidly. They're way too serious.
I think this kind of really does show that they're fanatics.
Yeah.
Like, they're not human at this point. They've sort of moved beyond that level of human reasoning where, in fact, they would have just let this guy go. It was like, okay, he's just whatever. Okay, clearly he's not here. He must have left recently. Let's get out of here.
Yeah, and it's great raising the stakes, right? The bad guys closing in. So now it's like the police are after them. These rebel guys are after them. How can they get to the coast?
Yeah, they're supposed to meet with a contact.
Yeah, that Jasper had set them up with at the refugee camp. So the idea is, let's go to the refugee camp, and then that will get you closer to the ocean, right?
Yeah, and this is where they do drive through the day, and they stop at a school, and the school is just totally abandoned. In fact, there's a deer walking through it, and this is what I was sort of thinking is that, as a parent, if I'm walking past in these schools, they're just in total ruin like this. Like, that's just a reflection of your own despair. It was just like, you don't realize these are symbols of us having a future. Is you see the kids running around and like being noisy and annoying. But let's face it, if there were no kids left and it was all closed down and shut, it would be... you
would feel doomsday is coming.
Yeah, it was just... A clock is ticking.
Yeah.
Because even though I know that I'm going to die, that clock is ticking. It's sort of it's not especially worrying. Like, it's sort of a future thing that I don't know, going to happen one day, I suppose.
Yep.
But if you knew there was, you're the last of the line, because you imagine what these kids are thinking.
Yeah.
Like 18, 19-year-olds are like, this is it. We don't have, they've never experienced having younger siblings. They are the youngest ever. And they've got no opportunity then to be in power, I suppose, because everyone's more senior than them. And they'd be watching the world population just every year would just decline. Yeah. Whew, grim.
So they get into, there's a great scene here. Miranda explains pretty much that passion you're talking about, that she was a midwife and suddenly there was no more babies being delivered. And when she rang the other hospital, they had no more babies.
Mentions
Australia. And they're not having any more babies. And that's what she talks about, is pretty much what you're talking about, that they were the first people to realise the despair that if there is no more babies, that the silence, and that's what they talk about, that silence. And that's why, again, when we come to it at the end, why it's important, the start started with black and how the end ends. And they're interrupted by a police sort of sound effect, and they go out and told to kind of lie down, put their bags down, hands up sort of idea. This guy gets out.
Calls him a fascist pig.
He says, "Oh, you're a fascist pig." He says, "What?" Yeah. He comes out with his baton, kind of threatened, "Call me that again." Fascist pig, goes to whack him, but then laughs. Sid is his name, and he likes to talk in third person.
Sid talks in third person.
Which is always funny, isn't it? It's always funny, and it's great that Sid's got this little weird characteristic. And he's an oddball overall.
He is a bit peculiar.
Yeah, because he's obviously this police guard at the refugee camp, but he's dabbling in other
And you can
activities.
imagine he's also just not kind of thinking too much about what's going on.
No.
He's just continuing on. I think they jump on this... They get driven to the compound and hauled out, and Sid says, catch up with Marika. She'd be sitting there smoking with a dog. She always is. And, get on the bus. And they get on the bus, and Theo sits down next to a German woman who asks for food. And she's wearing the grey coat. And again, you can't help but be reminded of World War II conditions.
Yeah. Well, these camps are brutal that we see in this film, aren't they?
Yeah.
They're hoarded onto these buses. There's cages on the buses. There's heavily armed military men. They've kind of got all their belongings. It's dirty. It's run down. It's cramped. It's nothing that we always like to talk about. Sort of treating people in a humane way. This is not humane at all.
They're not even really pretending.
No, they're not even pretending at all. This is quite brutal treatment of the refugees. And Key, so this is really good to me. The anti-Key starts, I've been through this with my wife. It's like she's having contractions.
Yes.
It's obvious. She's breathing heavily. She's in a lot of pain.
Her water breaks.
Her water breaks on the bus.
Miriam gets taken.
Yeah, and
so the
Miriam
midwife
sacrifices herself, right? Yeah. Like she basically causes a scene so that she's taken off.
Yeah.
And again, talking about long shots, isn't that telling a great way to tell the story of how they treat the misbehaving ones? Is the guard takes Miriam off the bus then takes off with the remaining people, including Key and Theo, and you see out the bus, and so where Miriam was going, they put a hood over her.
Yeah.
And as the bus moves down the street, there's then the identical lot of refugees, but at the next stage, and they're like tied up on their knees, and then it keeps moving, and the next stage is dead bodies.
Yes, they're being covered.
That could have been done with camera totally different, but by just looking out the bus, again, it's like we're on the bus and you are told this is what happens if you misbehave.
Yes.
And it's a really cool way of showing that. It's showing, not telling, which is great.
And we were also told, of course, here for a bit more of this whole faith business, that the human project there's no communications with them. It's done through, friend of a friend of a friend. Mirrors, as I said. Friend of a friend type of communication. And Julian was the last link, and they don't know who her link was. So they just got to turn up and believe it will happen.
Which, again, is also great for raising the stakes that then you start, as an audience, you're like, are they really going to be there?
Well, there's
Like,
no
how do
safe way out. You can't reschedule.
No.
Or ask them for additional help, or send a boat to the shore.
Yeah, it's risky. No. It's risky. Yeah. It's really risky. So they get to this really rough camp, and they're checked through. And it's kind of like when you land in Bangkok and you're a tourist, and people want to take all your luggage
or
and
Mars
money
from
Total Recall.
Yeah,
it's the same kind of idea. It's a rough world.
Some dude says, I'll get you a house. I can get you looked after. And
it's cramped. It's crowded. It's people.
But they do find Miriam.
They do.
Not Miriam.
Marika.
They do find Marika, and she's like this sort of funny, sort of slightly distracted woman, smoking and carrying her dog around everywhere, and takes them off to a tenement of some description. And I thought it was interesting here because, again, everything got dark and grey again from the countryside, and
it's bleak in here.
Yeah, you wouldn't even imagine that this was the UK, that this was a location. You probably think maybe Sierra Leone on a bad day or something, and they get taken in. And I really like this bit because Theo, gets her down on the bed. She's going to be having a baby. And suddenly this is where Theo comes alive.
Yeah.
Because he closes the door and he washes his hands. He takes out his bottle of booze that he hadn't had a drink of yet. He refilled it at Jasper's, and he washes his hands with it. It's like, if that's not a symbol of him washing his hands of drinking, because now he's found a higher purpose for this alcohol, which is, in fact, if he wasn't a booze hound, would he have had the alcohol to wash his hands off with? So it's one of these sort of strong symbols and ideas that comes in, and they deliver the baby, and it cries, as babies don't cry like that when they're first born. This is a movie trope in order to give, to show that the baby survived. They're usually pretty, slow moving, and they might tweak and chirp. So we had my son. His nickname when he was a baby was Chimpanzee Elliot, because he would make little. That's it, just like a little tiny little quiet chimpanzee sort of sound, and an Ivy sounded more like a seagull,
right?
Like, but none of this wah wah business going on. That wasn't until they'd been fed a few times and really a bit stronger. But newborns are pretty quiet. But this was, I think it was a computer graphic. It was a well done one, because often they put a real baby, but of course they can only use 9-month-olds, which are basically little adults
compared to a newborn.
Newborns look like they did in this, which is like these little purple deranged monkey creatures. They're horrifying to behold. That,
and I also liked because in my experience, this one came out, and they sometimes they come out not breathing, and that's what this one looked like as well. Which again, for the purpose of this story, is like, oh god, have they gone through all this and yet maybe the baby isn't alive,
viable.
So maybe it was just a freak pregnancy, So I think that was played on. This is also the longest shot in the film, this whole pregnant giving birth scene.
I really thought that
the ending you'd think, but this was the longest take, was her giving birth. I think it's 4.5 minutes or something, non-stop. From the minute they go in, you said, as he washed his hands and all that. So, it's quite an intense scene, and I did like how they brought the baby out, and you're right, it wasn't one of these 6-month-old, 9-month-old with hair and a beard. Talking,
playing cards.
You can just tell from the development where it's that, the bones are all twisted and the head's all misshaped.
And the skin's all flaccid and floppy.
They do have the baby, and to me, we're verging on the third act here, because now we've got the baby. In the morning, they're woken by Sid, who's come, and he's going to help them. He's going to help them get them.
And
out,
I think this is the last bit of the Dark Knight, just before that Act 3.
Yes,
because he spots the baby.
He spots the baby and realizes, no, hang on, you guys are worth something.
Yeah, it was unclear what his intentions were, but they weren't. He wasn't intending to help them to the human project.
Once he learnt that, and that's why when he was walking down the steps, he was like, I knew you guys were valuable, but now you're very, he says something about you are a product or something.
Yeah.
I can't quite remember the line, but he does say something along those lines. So you can feel the tables turning. He's got a gun and he marches them down. And but good old Marique, hey, she does a bit of a dive here and punches him or
he
something.
knocks him aside, and Theo grabs
Theo
a gun
kind of
and
grabs him, and they fire off
until he runs out of bullets.
She comes in with a stick or something,
pipe
thing, and gives him a good few whacks. Not quite enough to knock him out, and he's still abusing as he's collecting himself. And they get to a great challenge, isn't it? Which is like a door where Marique squeezes through because she's skin and bones and takes the baby, and then it's like she's disappeared.
Yes.
And so it's like, oh God, has she run off with the baby? But then she's there and she helps out Key. And then just as Theo is, it's like Indiana Jones, and just as he's getting out, then the Sid is up and bang, bang, shooting his gun again.
I like that because he starts squeezing out and Theo just whacks him with a car battery.
Yeah.
And unlike in other movies where people get hit in the head by, God knows, car batteries and frying pans, and they just kind of go, ooh, that's a bit of a shocker. I'm going to keep coming for you. You go, nah, Sid was out for the counter. He's not getting up after that.
He's dead. So,
because I've picked up car batteries, they are very heavy.
Oh yeah,
and you get hit like that with one, and you're not getting up.
It's all part of this intensity, isn't it? That he just whacks him, and I think he's even a bit surprised, But it was just in that moment he's grabbed the first thing he could pick up and smack him with, and then he also injures himself. Theo, he injures his legs because again he's not got his shoes on, and they flee down, and at the same time, there's the big rebellion going on in the refugee camp.
Yeah, there's initially marching. So there's
with shooting guns into
the Muslims are first saying God is great, God is good, or whatever it is they say. And then they walk past some French, waving the French flag, walking along.
Yeah.
And they managed to get up to maybe Russian guy, because there's sort of pictures of Lenin and a few other sort of things that make me think it's looking pretty Russian.
Yeah, and he's some sort of guy that obviously gets things in and out of
smuggler,
the camp.
yeah.
He's a smuggler, and so he's a little bit in his apartment. It's quite nice, and he's old and got bodyguards and stuff like this.
And they show him the baby,
they adorn the baby, don't they? It's the miracle. And here it's that example of Theo and that really bringing together all the resources for that final push.
Yeah.
It's the perfect example of that. And so the baby has
plan up.
Yeah, the bodyguard's like, yep, we can do it. We'll get you a boat. We'll get you out of here. We'll go in an hour. They look out the window. You can see that their world is in a lot of turmoil. The guards are coming past. Up on the roof, there's soldiers shooting down at them. So they're in a war, but they've got their plan of attack.
Got their plan, and of course it's smooth sailing because they go
got
out.
This great plan.
They push Key on the wheelchair and they get down.
They go in the opposite direction to the.
They
military.
dodge a few of the military things, and they come up to the water treatment thing where the guy pulls out like a key to do something, and then they just meet again on a boat and sail to victory.
Yeah.
No. Out from around the corner comes Luke and his boys.
Yeah,
they've managed to catch up to them again.
Yeah.
And they shoot the Russian guy, and they all have to go fleeing, and they take Key off, because this is a classic reversal. Like we're going, we're so close to victory, and you're going to have to learn something new. You haven't quite crossed all of the paths yet.
Well, you're going to have to Theo's really going to have to show his determination here, isn't he?
He's going to have to show that he cares.
Really is the father.
Yeah.
He's not the father, but he's the metaphorical father. That his quest, that debate, right? Going back to that debate when he decided to do it, and he was kind of doing it for money, but now he's committed to this cause, and he's told that he'll be executed, and then. This is where a bit of faith happens, doesn't it?
Faith and chance,
Chance, or the chance thing that then the military come around. So there's a good old shootout. And I mean, this scene is it's like Saving Private Ryan, these other war, Stanley Kubrick's one, the military one.
Full Metal Jacket?
Full Metal Jacket. It's this same point of view camera where we've got bullets flying past our head as the audience,
Yeah.
And,
It's
long
pretty cool because
takes.
I really like he runs, he dodges, and then jumps behind a pile, but there are already people
There's already
hiding
other
there,
people
and he's
hiding,
like, "Oh shit, sorry." I was like, "Get out of here! What are you doing?"
Yeah, this is our hidey hole,
Yeah.
and he runs through that bus, and there's people,
Yeah,
so,
and a couple of them get shot as it passes through. There's always bullets flying everywhere, and he manages to get down in that building that he sees them go into, but then tanks roll up, and then they're shooting, and then the tanks blast in there,
a
and
couple of big bombs,
yeah.
But he still runs in. He
runs in there.
It's the good metaphor, isn't it? Compared to what he was like at the start of the film, here he is running into a burning building.
At the start of the film, he was like, it's £5,000. Yeah, I'm going to need another couple thousand. Yeah. And, are we going to have a sing-song? No, I'm going to have a nap.
If you think about it, even at that coffee shop, the woman comes out with her arm blown off.
Yeah.
And he just walks to work.
Yeah.
Right? Like another day.
Yeah.
He doesn't help. Whereas here, he's running into the burning building.
Yes. He's
an opposite person.
Yeah. And it's really good that they showed that. And this is what I think intimidates me about a lot of these films and this writing, because when you look at this and you go, yeah, exactly, that bomb explosion in the coffee shop at the start wasn't really necessary at the start.
No.
Like, it could have simply been a couple of people getting into a scuffle, and that just sort of indicates it's a rough time.
Yeah.
But then, as you said, here, like, it really does demonstrate, though, like the whole show don't tell business. It's showing that, as you said, he's now running into danger. There's an explosion out, and then someone wombled out and died out of that, and yet he goes in, as you said. So, it always does worry me that I'm a tremendously inadequate writer when you can't. Mind you, there were like 5 or 6 people on this, and it was based off a novel already, so they sort of got a bit of a basis there. But
anyway, so he runs through this building. There's still the bullets. It's there's people all in this building. We also do see a good raise in the stakes, I think, just before he enters the building, as in people come out surrendering, like little white flags, and the military just mow him down. So he's going in there, the military aren't going to stop, right? Like, he's dead, really. And so he's running in there, and he kind of runs through the flyers. It's chaos, people running everywhere, bullets flying everywhere, people hiding. But he hears the baby.
Yes.
And so he heads to the baby, and he finds... And then that long-hair guy that's been tormenting him pretty much the whole movie as well comes by, and he hides, and then he's just shot down, by the military, and then finds Key and the baby, and literally, again, even like he's reaching to her, and there's a bullet, near his hand, and he convinces her to come with him, and that Luke is fighting off the military in the corner, and then says to him, you can't take her. Like, I want this baby.
He's so bloody minded, isn't he? It's just like, Luke, you're done. This is finished.
Yeah.
Your rebellion, it's nothing.
No, we've got the baby. Let us get the baby out,
Yeah, and he even goes, oh, it's a girl. Like, because I imagine that sort of sparks the idea, oh, well, maybe this child could also have children.
That's right, yeah.
And so you go, well, which is a bit of an Adam and Eve business. Like, apparently in the Bible, Adam and Eve gave birth to the entire human race. Like, we're all massively inbred, but don't worry about that. Actually, it does say that he took up other children, like other wives, and you're like, well, I'm not sure where they came from, but okay, let's go for that.
God just kept spitting them out.
He's like, wow, you got any more ribs, Adam? No. But he does. He stops for a moment and goes, oh, it's a girl, and you can see him considering it.
Yeah.
But he still goes, nah.
No, and then fires on him, and hits him. But good old Theo keeps running, and then pretty sure, does he get blown up, Luke, then, or something?
Yeah, Luke gets taken out.
Yeah, he gets taken out.
And this is where Theo is down the corridor, and he stops and looks, and there's like all these people.
Yeah.
And there's this question we have in our head is like,
what are they going to do with the baby?
What's their intention here?
Yeah.
And they're all, oh my goodness, baby, it's a miracle. And so that's...
To the point that some of them are even looking and then get shot.
Yes.
So they're like, again, it's like very symbolic to me that they're they're like, oh my God, it's a baby. And they're so willing to put like stand out in the corridor, you know, and stand out in the
They reach out to try and touch it.
Yeah, and they get shot and stuff by the military. And then, so I think they descend a flight of stairs and they come across armed rebels again.
Yeah.
Not necessarily Luke's gang, but another gang.
Yeah, some dude with a gun.
Some dude with a gun. And he just kind of looks at the baby and, yeah, no worries, like nods and they go past him. And then with that, it's the actual military. So here's the standoff. Here's the climax, really. And that military guy, they're all baffled at first, but then they just, no, stop firing, ceasefire, you know, and that's the messaging. And there's this beautiful long shot that you were talking about before that it descends down the stairs past all these military people, soldiers.
And they're almost forming like a what do you call it, a guard of honor type thing.
Yeah. And some of them are, you know, signifying religious connotations and, you know, symbols, and others are just in awe, and
where they lean over to
lean over.
catch
Some
a look
want to have a closer look. Some are a bit more standoff, but they're all, you know, and I think there's probably a message in that, isn't it? It's like we as adults, we have these wars as well. You know, we fight each other as adults, and yet if there was just a baby present, it wouldn't happen. Sorry.
Wow.
No, but it's like more like the innocence of a baby, right? But we kind of forget that as adults.
Yeah,
people forget it.
I don't, and it just surprises me every single time when someone says, "Oh, we're going to invade," or "Let's declare war," and you're like, "Seriously, guy,
you're basically killing babies. We were all babies, right?
Why are you doing that? I'm pretty sure you can do something other than that." Mind you, I also think that the you know, these governments or whatever should probably not just like shoot their own people.
Yeah,
just don't.
Yeah.
So
start with that.
So you know your Syrian guy who his military shot the graffiti kid doing the graffiti. Like, don't do that. It's pretty simple to not shoot people. I have gone my whole life and I've not shot a single person. That's how easy it is.
I know, it's surprising, really.
Yeah, it's remarkable. Just don't do it. It's simple. Yeah. Say no to shooting. Kids stay in school.
Yeah. Anyway, so there is this real sort of miraculous scene, and they escape the building. They go. Everyone lets them go past just because they're amazed at a baby. And up until then, a bazooka comes flying out, and boom, you know, just as they're out of the building, basically. And so the military go back to doing what they do, and they escape the confrontation.
Yes.
And get back to Marique. Actually, she's still alive.
She's kicking on. She's hard to kill.
She is. She gets them back to the boat, and you know, Theo's like, "Come with us," but she doesn't want to do that, and they push him out. And like you're saying, the tunnel, right? They come through the tunnel, go underneath the sharp kind of escape, and they're out. They're out in the ocean,
in the fog and the mystery.
And then there's a fog and mystery, and
then the jets fly over and just blast the crap out of the refugee city.
Yes, there wouldn't have been much left at the end of all that anyway, all that fighting.
And we have this quiet moment where they're talking. We discover that Theo's been shot and he's bleeding and he's going to die.
But just before that, the baby's upset, and this is that final fatherly thing, right?
Teaches her to burp.
He goes, "Oh, she probably just needs to burp," and he doesn't hold the baby, just symbolises holding a baby and what you should be doing. And I also thought, they're really good if you lie on your arm and give them a whack like that.
The other one, actually, if there's any new dads out there or new mums listening, is if you're holding your baby facing you in your arms and you lower them down horizontal, like onto your lap, and then bring them back up again, it dislodges the gas and they will burp. My wife and we do it to ourselves as well. If we've got, you feel you've got a bit of a burp and you go,
it's like a sit-up.
Lie down and then come sit back up again, and you'll
just force the gas out. Yeah,
get a good old burp. So
it's funny, that recovery position I naturally did, and I didn't even know. And then when you do first aid, which again I just did the other day, that's what you put a baby in for first aid. Is it like they're on your arm, like that, and their head down, so all the puke and vomit and blood or anything can just come out of their mouth,
which is standard issue. Yes.
which then I was like. And I mean, I remember learning this in first aid a few years ago after I'd already had babies. It was like, I was like, that is such a good position. And it was because of that, because quite often the vomit and that would just, the dribble and all that kind of stuff that comes out of babies, it just goes off your elbow and onto the floor or whatever, but if you hold them the other way, they're like they're like drowning in their saliva, or you have them on your shoulder and then you've got it all down your shirt and shoulder. So, I walked around my eldest like that hours on end in that weird recovery position. And I was doing it the other day with, I did it with my puppy a year ago, and my wife sort of took the piss out of me, and I did it the other day deliberately. In return, I like picked up the puppy and I was like, oh, look, I've got it in the recovery, baby position, like it is a baby, patting its back. And of course, the puppy's like, what the fuck are you doing to me?
Yeah.
But a baby quite likes that. So there you go. Some parenting advice from the space.
There you go. See, if I was dying in that rowboat, I'd have something to say as well.
I would too. And that, probably actually what you said earlier, I was the same. I did not have kids in 2006. You do watch this time, you're like, yeah, no, he's right. Burp it, give it a little burp. It's only a burp. Don't, you do stress when you have that first baby, don't you? It's like, oh, God, is it dying? Should we go to emergency? No, it's just a bit of gas.
My wife and I had a checklist. Whenever the baby looked discomforted, we go, okay, is it warm enough?
Yep.
Is it cool enough?
Has it been fed?
Has it been fed? Has it been changed? Has it been burped? You just go through that checklist sort of in that order, and then once you've gone through to the end of that.
And if it's still upset, okay, now what do we do? Yeah.
Fortunately, we didn't have that situation where it's still up. Well, actually, it was a little bit later on, then we discovered it's teething.
Yeah, then it's teething.
And then you go, okay, like give it something to chew on or something.
Of course, this is not medical advice. Like one of my babies did have really bad croup, and we had to fang it to hospital at 2 a.m. in the morning. Awful time.
Oh, little Bubby Elliot.
All those things.
He got himself some herpes, and well, I mean, 90-something% of the population has it. But, but he had an occurrence, an outbreak, and as a baby, it's quite dangerous. There's a high fevers and all sorts of things. So he spent a night.
Yeah.
But this is also partly. Don't be afraid of doing that.
No, just do it.
The doctors don't think you're a fool for coming to the hospital.
No, not with a young baby or a child actually. And he is been shot, so he bleeds out after he's given this last piece of fatherly advice.
And he finds out she's finally come up with a name. It's not Froley. No. It's not Bazooka. It's like Bazooka? What? I know she was thinking of the Russian connection or something there, but when she says Dylan, that could be a girl's name too.
Yeah.
And you can see that's where he's like,
does a little smile as he dies.
Okay, I can die pleased that, I have brought this life into the world.
Yeah, it's his legacy lives on, right? Like he's done the right thing. And and then she's sitting in the boat alone, and you are questioning that faith, that idea. And but with that, you see the lights.
It'd be pretty terrifying for her.
It would have been,
I can't row us back, and they've just got bombed, baby, and I don't. Ooh.
Where do we go? But this boat then starts coming, and
the
symbolically
boat is
it's called Tomorrow. And then it's black with the title Children of Men, right? So remember I said it was black at the start for 30 seconds, but now we have Children of Men and it's laughter, children laughing.
Yes.
So the bookends of this film are really beautiful. So at the start, that annoying checking your DVD computer screen, which Surrey and I did this time, and I'm sure the film projectorists did back in 2006, your bookend is then laughter, children's laughter at the end of the film. So silence versus laughter.
It does give you that bit of hope, as you said.
Yeah, I think the thing is the novice audience member, not the space brain, but the novice that might go, I wouldn't mind another scene that maybe the world now has children, but that is it. That's all you need.
Yeah.
And that's really cool writing, because you don't need, that's showing children laughter, children laughter. We don't need to have happily ever after and have Key 20 years later surrounded by babies, right? Like, just have kids laughing. Well, it means that, the
problem with those sort of extended things, it requires you to answer a bunch of questions like, so what was wrong with women?
That's right.
What was right with Key? And how did, if they got Dylan, how did they get other babies? Like, your gene pool is too small there. And
that's
do they clone them? Or like, and then it's easy if you just go, there was laughter. Okay, somehow it became all right.
It worked all right.
And you can leave feeling that, okay, things aren't terrible.
Yeah. So that brings us to the end. It's an awesomely shot film, as we said, point of view throughout the whole thing. The camera, steady cam point of view idea really brought you into the film. A lot of shakiness throughout. The gritty scenes and sequences of London throughout. Every single setting is basically some sort of dystopian world. I love that. Back to that action scene as well. That was all conflict like war. There's also the blood. You notice that? I just got to say that. The blood splatters onto the camera at one moment.
Yeah, when he's walking through the bus.
Yeah.
In that last scenes that bullets go shooting through and someone flies backwards and the camera kind of, it shakes left and then right back out. Yeah, and there's little droplets of blood on there.
Now, other more recent shows, even The Walking Dead, did that deliberately, right? And, computer games, storytelling can do it and stuff like this. I don't know of another movie. As I said, The Walking Dead, I've seen them do it on The Walking Dead, but deliberately. For this, as part of the choreography, that was a happy accident. And again, it was one of those cinematography things where he said, let's keep that in the film. Keep it, And isn't it such a beautiful moment? I loved it. I was like, it's the visceral part of the scene. It
adds you into the scene for sure.
It makes you feel that, because there's blood splattering onto the
If the blood splattered onto the camera, that means there is a camera there.
Yeah.
And we're in there type of thing. Like it's a weird...
Well, it's our eyeballs, right? Like
it's almost
you could be splattered into it.
It's almost a breaking of the fourth wall.
It is breaking the fourth wall. It is. But in that point of view version, it's like we're crouching, we're dodging bullets like Theo, aren't we? And I just thought that was great. Another I also mentioned was the music, and there was this...
There's a lot of classic rock in there.
Yeah, and the opera kind of musical where it's a little bit, to me... So you can have an orchestral score that really relates to the scene. To me, the opera music that's in this, it's almost like a bit of a juxtaposition. It's almost like a bit... not sickening, but it's just a little bit abrupt and makes you realise that there's music and vision that doesn't quite go together.
And is it playing up on the whole, it's not over till the fat lady sings?
Maybe,
thing?
yeah.
And there's this opera she's singing. So it's not quite over yet.
It's not quite over yet, yeah. And I mean, opera again is like a class structural thing, I think, that upper class, wealth class... Yeah, so yeah, I mean, look, this film is got so many good factors to it.
It's wonderful. No, it's not surprising. It got 10, Academy Award nominations.
Yeah.
And it won at least one or two of them.
I think, 3. I think, or three nominations, 3 Oscar nominations. I think. Don't think it actually won anything, but and had some BAFTA nominations and some wins. Won some festivals. It had very good critical success.
So this one's 3 Academy Award.
Yeah, it was a nomination for it,
a couple of BAFTA wins out of some nominations. Yeah, no, it's his Gravity that he got the...
Yeah, Alfonso has backed this up with Gravity a few years later, which is another great science...
7 Academy Awards.
Films. Yeah.
Good on you, Alfonso.
And we'll come back to Gravity probably on a future episode. So that's the plot. That's the narrative sort of structure. Let us know what you thought about it. Did we miss anything? What did you like about it? Hit us up on the socials and let us know. We have been going for a little while, so let's make this nice and fast. Sorry with the ladder. I think as a little threesome for me on a Friday night, or if you're out there in Spacebrain land, have a look at Snowpiercer. Have a look at Children of the Men. Have a look at The Platform. Put those 3 together and you have got a meaty sandwich for a Friday, Saturday night mix of nice dystopian, creepy world leaders with their awful games and the underdog fighting back in all 3 of those.
Wow, yeah, I didn't think of Snowpiercer. Snowpiercer fits this very well because there they have a problem with children and they steal the children. I went for District 9.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, which I think really connects to that.
This is playing up on the refugee sort of idea here and the empathy, because we know that Blomkamp, he loves his empathy. He says, we should walk a mile in someone else's shoes and become an alien or something. And then I went Extinction. Yep. Extinction likewise had this, there were no more children. Mm-hmm. And there was just these robot kids that didn't age, which is a bit, weird. Hopefully you've all seen these films and listened to us discuss them. But I kind of liked that reversal, much like here in this Britain in Children of Men, sort of that reversal of refugees and internment camps. Like you've got the
playing off that history and reversing
history.
The
yeah,
history
I liked that idea.
Yeah.
But District 9, I should have thought Snowpiercer.
Yeah, that's okay.
But that was, I'll try better next time.
You do better.
I will do better next time.
And what's your ladder out there in the world? What trilogy would you like? Do you agree with my suggestions of Snowpiercer and The Platform, or would you prefer to go Surrey's suggestions of District 9 and Extinction?
Mind you, it was a bit grim. I was considering The Wandering Earth as sort of, okay, here's the opposite
cleanser.
where it's like
the hope.
This is where humanity didn't devolve into dystopia. It actually turned into this kind of, everyone pulled together. But then I thought, no, I won't be happy.
I was the same. That's why I went The Platform. I thought, let's keep it gritty.
Oh, The Platform.
Let's go for the world against us, idea. And because that's sort of the Snowpiercer. He's got the whole train, the whole world is against him, isn't it? Sort of thing. So, yeah, I thought that'd be let's go bleak this weekend and watch these 3 films in a row. So, what about the science? Sorry, what science do you want to take from Children of the Men? Is it infertility?
Well, recently, the latest UN projections. So every year, there's these projections done, come out of the UN for world populations and fertility rates and where we're going population-wise. And we have these things we know about, like we've heard the baby booms.
Yep.
So at the time, let's say from 1941, 42 through till 1960, there was a massive fertility increase.
Yep.
And fertility rate is measured by the number of children each woman has.
Yep.
And the reason to do that is, one, it's easy to measure how many children women have because we have
good records.
We have most records of that.
Yeah.
And the other thing, of course, is it doesn't matter how many men are around. One woman can still only have one baby at a time. Like I've seen documentaries where the 5 guys try to have 5 babies with one woman. Yeah, we know those documentaries. Documentary. But it doesn't work. Yeah. It just doesn't work.
No.
So it's the number of women, number of babies that a woman has through her life.
Yeah.
And in say Australia, and a lot of Western world, a lot of developed worlds, if you have 2.1 children per woman, don't know how a woman has 0.1, but I assume a whole bunch of them get together and they band together and save their 0.1 up just to have someone have an extra.
Yeah.
Then you basically are at an even keel.
Yeah.
So you're not growing, and you need that 0.1 because you do get deaths that aren't just from old age.
Yeah.
You got to account for some accidents. So because you need 2 because obviously there'd be a man and a woman involved in each child's birth. And so if you have 2, then you're replacing the man and the woman. But then you've got to take into account that some people can't have children.
Yep.
Some people die early.
Yep.
And so forth. But that's only 0.1. It's not big. So in Australia, if we have 2.1 fertility rate, then our population will stay steady. I think we're 26 million-ish, somewhere in that department. Tomorrow it'll be a little bit higher. But if we get 2.1, we'll stay at that. Our current fertility rate is something more like 1.7, and it's dropping. So it was 1.9 2 years ago. Then it was 1.5 during COVID. Apparently not as many people had children. 1.7, but it's trending downwards. So what that means, of course, is Australia's population is going to shrink.
It's aging like this film.
Except we're getting immigration.
Yeah.
Around the world, this is a common trend. There are 61 countries in the world, like mostly developed nations, that are going to have a decrease of at least 1% over the next 30 years. So it doesn't sound like a lot, but this is one of those things that can snowball because, like in Children of Men, they start having babies. Now you just get this wave of people aging out without replacement. Yeah. And then even if you then start getting replaced, like even this baby Dylan, let's say, they discover a cure, and so they get as many, the young childbearing women and men around the place and patch them up, and you get some level of childbirth.
Yep.
You're still now you've missed a whole generation.
You have.
And it's going to be this big skip. So normally you would have the 18-year-olds and you'd have the next generation already coming. And then you'd have like the people in their sort of 20s who aren't they're probably not quite going to have children. Here in Australia, the average age is about 31 for women, 33 or 32 for men to have children.
That's where those refugees come in handy, but skilled migrants.
Yes, skilled migrants.
Somewhere you unlock those camps.
Yes, well...
You need Uber drivers.
It's funny.
You need Uber drivers.
It's funny you should say that because, in fact, places like Japan are aging out faster because they have traditionally not had immigration. Like it is well known that it is nigh on impossible, and in fact, it is basically impossible to become a Japanese citizen if you're not born a Japanese citizen. Trying to become a Japanese citizen, maybe if your parents were Japanese citizens and you repatriate. Yep. But yeah, myself as a white Australian going over to Japan, I can get permanent visa residency. That's not that easy, but you can do it.
Yep.
I would never be a citizen. Almost guaranteed I wouldn't. Like, I think there might be a couple little ways you can do it, but they just don't do it. That's just not what Japan is. They haven't needed to, essentially, except now they do. And this is happening as in 61 countries are looking at a decreased population. Yeah. And that means they're not producing more children. And in 30 years' time, there's going to be about 30, so we're going from about 10% people age 60 and over, and over the next 30 years, it's going to be like 30 or 33% of 60 and over. And you've also got to think that the baby boomers, so we had this massive population boom up to the 1960s sort of time, where the population, I think the fertility rate was up close to like 3 or 4 or 5 or something. Yep. It was double what you need, and the growth rate was 2.5%. That's just from births. Yep. So that Australia was also getting a lot of immigration, but you got these baby boomers coming through, and in 30 years' time they're going to be dead because right now they're 60 plus. So in 30 years' time, that huge spike of growth is gone, and we're not replacing with new babies. And you and I, Mike, in 30 years' time, we're going to be
the old
aged out.
Yeah.
Of the working population, for example, which leaves you with a government saying, well, where do we, how do we maintain infrastructure, and how do we look after all these old people? Because they have different needs. They need more doctors. They need more Xboxes.
We will just be sent back to work, I think.
We'll be given quietus.
Yes.
Yes, you don't get to retire. Yeah. Yes.
You can have quietus as your retirement.
Well, they already did that because the retirement age for a very long time was 55.
Yeah.
Could you imagine that?
I know.
To me, that sounds so young.
It does.
55. I mean, that's not too far off. I mean, it's a fair way off from my age at the moment, but not that far.
No.
It's certainly...
It's actually doable. I can work to that.
Yeah, I'm looking at that going, well, I won't be retired at 55. Yeah. But they increased it to 65 for this very reason, because they went, well, and by doing that, they saved a whole heap of pension and increased, another 10 years of people working.
Yeah, you can work for 10 years, then you can die. We're pretty happy.
So this brings us to the elephant in the room that we all know and love, China. So China notoriously had enormous growth. Like after their major famine they had back in 1950, I like to say. Yep. They recovered from that. That's nice. They had about 600 million people. Yeah, that's quite a big population. But China's a very large landmass and it's a very fertile country. They had an enormous population boom, as we know. So over the past sort of, 50, 60 years, they've more than doubled in population. They're 1.4 billion people. But they're now, and they introduced this one-child policy. That's kind of a dangerous policy again, because you
want the two.
You're not replacing the people dying out. Yeah. And it all sounds like fun and games until you realise that you're going to have a top-heavy aged population. Yeah. And if you don't have all the necessary infrastructure and social situations to protect that, to protect those people, you're going to have like a whole bunch of dead old people, which is that's quite tragic.
Well, you're going to have dystopian society, aren't you?
You're going to have dystopian societies. Yeah. So, about 2020, they're sort of peaking about 1.4 billion. They have dropped the one-child policy, but the problem is it was in place for about 40, 50 years. So, like, that would be, if you were born as the one child, you would have grown up and also had your one child, and you'd be raising that one child with the thought of them only having one child. Like, that's how far along you go. And in fact, they would have well been indoctrinated with this idea of one small child. Family. Yeah. And at the same time, China's undergone a massive industrial boom, and their standard of living has shot up, and education has shot up. And one thing that has held true is that anywhere where women gain access to birth control and education and some sort of level of social agency, we stop having children. Yeah. Because, surprise, surprise, many women don't want to be baby farms. No. That's just, it's hard. It's hard work, and it cuts you out of some portion of life for however many years. And our workforce appreciates having all of these more skilled labourers. If you imagine this will happen after World War II. One of the reasons why we had such an economic revolution around the world was that these world wars introduced the fact that women would go to work, and when the wars ended, the women didn't want to go back home, but that's not enough because they still would have been pushed home. But all of these companies are going, we've got all these skilled workers, and they're working, and we get the men back in. We don't have to pay the women as much. They're married to the men. They've got an income. So for them, it's not as vital. Yeah. And so, the companies didn't want to give up all this skilled labor. And you had so much more money in families, family households, two-income families became a thing. Yep. And, wow. But then poor old China, so they're projected, so the world population is projected to peak now, the new projection, at 10.4 billion. So this is down, it was at about 11 billion, 12 billion. And then it revised down to 10.9 by 2100. It's now expected to peak at 10.4 in 2080. So not only almost a billion people less, but 20 years earlier. And it's, the projections sort of say we should stabilize around that mark, which means we should start planning for how do we feed about 10 billion people? We probably don't need to feed 11 or 12 billion people, which was a real concern people had, was like, well, if we just keep growing, we're going to run out of food, basically. We'll eat ourselves out of house and home, and then we'll have wars over it. And we'll already have the occasional war over food. Yep. 2080. China, by... what is it? So from sort of 2050 to 2090, so let's call it 40 years, they're going to drop, or they're projected to drop about 600 million people, which is 20 million people a year. Right. Their current birth rate is 12 million a year. So you put that in it, because 20 million people, that's the population of Australia. Yeah. Every year, aging out. I can't even fathom that. No. And that's for years on end as they drop down. There's 600 million fewer population before they stabilise again. And the question, of course, then is going to, like, many of the people that are left are actually going to be older because, we just don't have the babies growing right now. So what on earth is that going to mean? Well, we could hope that in general, the world, we find a way of stabilising our pollution. But these are just interesting notions or ideas, projections, statistics that governments and even families have to plan for this sort of thing. At some point, is my retirement savings, which is in shares, would there be an ideal time to take it out because these companies will start losing value? Or in fact, with a lower population, will we get deflation? Will having money become disproportionately more valuable? Because at the moment, we've got the other way around, which is that having, X dollars is disproportionately less valuable today than it was yesterday.
Yeah.
If you have deflation, it's the other way around where, you have your $100,000 in the bank, you're going, that'll last me a year and a bit, I guess. Suddenly it will last you 10 years. And you go, oh, geez, okay. Because there's just that many fewer people. Yeah. And then what are we going to do with all these cities? Because this is a problem that China has, is 600 million fewer people. They've got housing for 1.4 billion people. Yeah. Minus the, whoever's not housed. I'm sure they've got a similar problem that most of the world has with housing. But they've got 1.4 billion houses, say, or when there's 600 million less people, that's almost half. That's 40% fewer people.
Just knock out some walls, make bigger apartments.
Yeah, what are you going to do? You're going to have whole apartment buildings that's just going to be laced with empty homes. And when you take into account the fact that a lot of these people will be old, they're not going to be in the high rises. They're going to be down the bottom floors and lower places and hospitals, and it's going to be quite an amazing change in that sort of 80 years' time.
You're telling me that when we're the old farts and we need some medical help, there probably won't be that real medical help, will there?
Well, on the other hand, though, there won't be as much competition for it, but we won't have as much money to pay for it.
No, because if there's less younger people, but you won't... if there's more older people retired and less younger people, it's that old... It's kind of even what is happening currently in WA in particular, because a lot of our skilled workers go up onto mine sites. Yes. But then that means that back, in the local suburb, you don't have skilled people even just making you a coffee. You know what I mean? If the population of Perth lived in Perth, then those young people would, they'd be a barista or whatever, right?
Or they could build my house.
Yeah, they could build your house. But then there's better money elsewhere. They're going to go do that. And then there's less talented pool. So that would be the same as what you're saying.
It would be similar to that.
Because if there's less people like in our children's generation, they get better jobs to pick from. And they don't want to change nappies of old people.
Well, what that means is the robots and automation which are coming to take our jobs aren't coming to take our jobs until we're retired. They can have it. When I retire, they can have my job and support me. So maybe that's the solution. Maybe
and that could be the solution.
Maybe the automation will automate away our problems.
Yeah, that's right.
Maybe I'll just stay in IT because, I need to be able to talk to those robots.
Yeah.
Get them to change my nappies.
Hack him.
Get them to change my nappy.
He's too rough when he changes my nappy. Bit of coding.
It's a little bit too gentle. Anyway, that's fertility rates. Mostly driven at the moment by... did I mention that we're living longer as well? Yeah. So that's kind of helpful. Except America, the last few years, their life expectancy has dropped, which has been the first time since 1940 or something.
Yeah. Crazy. So there's a bit too little population or fertility happening. It is Christmas time, folks. Get out there. Get fertile. Spread the population needs you.
Cheer and Christmas cheer.
Spread your cheer wherever you can, as long as there is consent.
The illegitimate children you have now will be there to
change your nappies.
Disown you when you're older. Actually, that's right. You should probably try to retain a good relationship.
Have a good relationship with people. Yes. That's what we're saying.
Yes, that's what we're saying. Otherwise, who's going to change a nappy?
I know you got to be good people, because otherwise
we've already told our kids that they've got to change their nappies when we're older.
They are doing that. I didn't have children just to have children.
Yeah, exactly.
If they want their measly inheritance.
So what is coming up, though, is Christmas. We've been talking about it. Children of Men, nominally a Christmas movie. It has Christmassy themes there. It was released in Christmas.
Yeah, I don't know. I think it's a bit of a stretch.
I think it's a stretch. Some people are trying to say it is. It's like the people who are telling me that Die Hard's a Christmas movie, and you're kind of going...
Well, that is... I reckon that probably is more
There is Christmas in there, but there's no message of Christmas. You need a combination of the two. You need McClane trying to escort the pregnant girl in a world where there is no pregnancy through Nakatomi Tower being hunted by Hans Gruber.
But Hans is Santa Claus.
Yeah, he gets in as the office party Santa.
As Santa, that would make it a bit more
there
Christmas,
you go.
yeah. And his
He
backstory could be that he was never given presents.
He
you know
didn't
what I
get
mean?
a
Like
presents.
he was too naughty, and so, and that could be a metaphor for capitalism as well.
And when he
Like,
gets
didn't
shot
get
and falls off the building, then he finally learns the true meaning of Christmas.
Yeah.
As he impaled on a Christmas tree.
There
But
you go.
it
That's
is-
the die-hard rewrite.
It is Christmas, and Spacebrains is signing off for 2022.
We are.
We'll be fresh and bright and cheerful 2023 with a surprise episode of surprise goodness.
Sounds good. It's such a surprise, I don't know what we're talking about. But we wish you a Merry Christmas.
And a joyous new year.
Yes. Come back for 2023 Space Brains.
Have babies.
Have space babies.
Have space babies.
That's right.
See ya.
See ya.